Perhaps we need some outside universal threat to make us recognize this common bound. I occasionally think how quickly our differences worldwide would vanish if we were facing an alien threat from outside this world.
Good evening and welcome to Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott, and I say thank you for tuning us on in as we get into a great show tonight with the Kentucky Goblins. Geraldine Sutton Stith is here. We're going to get into her family story with the Kentucky Goblins momentarily. But first, you're going to see me put a hat on tonight, and I wear this hat twice a year. Today is the 6th anniversary of the passing of my nephew, and from a fentanyl overdose. So he was 29 years old, and I miss him dearly. I'll get into that story a little bit later on, but I always pay a tribute to him on his birthday and on his passing day. So we will get that to you momentarily. But first, let's see who we got here tonight in the medal position, because we got to get to that. We always got to say hello to our audience, including Tim Mothman and his goatee, holding on to the gold medal tonight. Race fan with a silver, Kathy Evans taking home a bronze medal. Trucker Andrew, Robert Lamoth, Simon the Likeable, and Laura Lobbs, how are you? Karen in the Woo Train, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Stephanie Kenny Blankenship, Para Marv, and Abbott Hoffman. Mama Catherine, mwah! I love you, my dear. I hope you're having a wonderful, wonderful evening. Deanna Ann, nice to see you as we continue on with our roll call. Philip Blair is here. Philip Blair will be signing autographs after the show. Line up to the left of the studio, if you don't mind, to the left of the studio. Noble Patrick, nice to see you. Forrest Louie, thanks for coming on in as we continue on with our roll call tonight. Up next, we have Human Carl, a great veteran of the United States Air Force. Thank you for your service, Human Carl. We love you, my man. Little Deborah is back. Little Deborah will be signing autographs after the show as well. Line up to the right of the studio, if you don't mind, to the right of the studio. Continuing on here with our roll call, there's little Timmy in the backwoods. He's actually in the back of the studio. That's right. All right. Lisa C., nice to see you. And we continue on with roll call here. Who's up next for us? Let us say hello next to Eternity Eternal, Ozzy, and who's next? That must have been a great conversation there. Mainstream Macadamia, welcome. How you doing, man? I think this is your third night in a row. Millennium, my man, good to see you. How's the mullet? Give us an update if you don't mind, because I know you're a Leafs fan. All right. Little Cam over on Twitch literally did 444 jumping jacks in 4 minutes, 44 seconds to warm up for tonight's show. That man is a machine. Philip Backenuts, how are you? Number 13 in your program, starting at center ice tonight from Stockholm, Sweden. Lars Jansson, great on the penalty kill, 100%. River Morris, nice to see you. Laura Lee Seaton, W. David Page, thank you for coming on in. Buckethead the Soothsayer, how are you? And let us say next, Kurt M., nice to have you here. And we scroll on down through our chat room. There's Parasolo and Necessary Dialogue. Yennefer with a soft J. Mr. Cowley, welcome to the show. Oh, Mr. Cowley loves his spaced out radio. Seven Systems, nice to see you. Algaray over on Twitch. Yeah, he did 500 crunches. 500 crunches in 2 minutes and 49 seconds, all to warm up for tonight's show. Let's get to the radio side. Hello and welcome to the radio and podcast side of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. We're getting into the original story of the Kentucky Goblins. Geraldine Sutton Stith is here to break down her story. We'll get to her momentarily. We are just completing our roll call here as we say hello next to Dragonfly, Phyllis Mouche Perry. Nice to see you. River Morris, thanks for coming on in. Hi, Damian Wyatt. And purple-haired Pixie Lara. Good to see you. Oob to Joe's Maine, you've got pointy sticks and goblins. Yes, you do. Scrolling on down, High Operation Shutdown. And who's next? Thomas Rock. Good to see you. All right, let's continue on with our roll call because we're running out of time here. Candy Wolf, nice to see you. Hi, Smurfy. Good to have you back. Eric J., nice to see you. And do me a favor, everybody. It's that time of the night. Throw those horns up. Let's rock. From the mountains of central British Columbia to you listening around the world, this, my friends, is Spaced Out Radio. I am your host, Dave Scott, sitting in the captain's chair of SOR headquarters. We welcome you to tonight's show on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out, Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our site as well. You can follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Tonight's show is brought to you by Chive Charities. Help make the world 10% happier by visiting Chive Charities today. You can find them on our website. We have an amazing show tonight. Geraldine Sutton Stith is here. We're going to learn all about the original story of the Kentucky Goblins, a true tale of horror, fear, and the unknown. We will get to Geraldine here in a couple of seconds. In hour 3, Steve Stockton will kick things off with another great spooky story. Tim James is here. Tim James is here with the UFO report coming up in hour 3 as well. August 21st, 1955. Just another hot summer night like so many others in a small community called Kelly, Kentucky. Lucky Sutton, along with his family and friends, were enjoying a quiet, peaceful evening. The family not knowing that all around them, strange things were happening. Things that no one would come forward to talk about, too afraid to bring up what they had witnessed. But Lucky and his family were about to find out what could lurk in the darkness. The visitors were not from this earth. Were they possibly from the depths of hell? The gunshots and the screams could be heard by neighbors, but nobody, and I mean nobody, came to help. Luckily, Lucky and his family could only live as they could. After the events of that night, it changed them. It was a fear of the unknown, wondering if this would happen for the rest of their lives. And would these creatures come back? If that doesn't put chills down your spine and goosebumps all over your body, you are either dead or numb to this world or staring at your cell phone watching too many Facebook reels. Geraldine Sutton Stith, she knows all about this. Thank you so much for coming on Spaced Out Radio. How are you?
Hi, everyone.
I am so glad to have you here because I remember when I got into this field back and started learning about it, probably back in 2011, 2012, yours was one of the first stories that I had ever heard of. And I was looking for experiencer stories because I couldn't figure out what was going on with me. I was a 38-year-old man living a happily boring life, and then this crap started. And I want to know about you, okay? Because you have written a tell-all book of your family's history with these Kentucky Goblins. I'm
Mhm.
sure that this is a story that you've told thousands of times so far. Do you ever get sick of telling about it?
Not really. I mean, it's a great story. People love it. It's exciting. It's got a lot to it, a lot more than people realize. And once you hear it, you find that out. No, I don't get tired of it. Scared of it, yeah, because when I first heard this story back in '69, I was like 8 years old. Um, it was scary, for an 8-year-old kid. My family kept this hid from us. We didn't know that this existed, that this happened. We just were lucky one Sunday afternoon when this man and woman came to talk to my dad and wanted to talk to him about the green men. Okay, me being me, even at 8 years old, I already loved sci-fi and horror. I mean, I loved it. So, when this man asked my dad if he could talk about the green men, it was like, wow, my little ears pepped up and I was ready to hear something different. And, when they sat us all down and my dad started telling the story afterward, I changed my mind about that because it was terrifying to hear him tell this, to watch him tell it, because as he told it, you could tell he was scared. I mean, he went pale for one. Um, and you could tell it was just terrifying. They were really traumatized over this, and that's what I try to make people understand when I tell this story, because I know a lot of people think, well, oh yeah, whatever, they had some kind of little encounter that night with something, and a lot of people don't even think it's real, but it is. Something happened to the family that night, you know.
Family legend and lore of something of this magnitude really can take many members of your family and literally put them on a path of not knowing what is out there because of the fear that was instantaneously built in. Going back to your childhood, learning about this story at 8 years old, how did this affect you personally growing up, knowing that your family had this strange encounter with these creatures of the unknown?
Oh, I was terrified. Terrified. At nighttime, I would run around the house and shut the doors, the windows, the curtains, the blinds, whatever was covering them, because I was afraid these things were going to come back and they were going to be looking in at us. And, so looking out at night when it got dark, that was just no, 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 no. I did not do that. And it affected the part as far as the alien stuff. Real movies about aliens and stuff like that didn't come out until the 50s. So, by the end of the 60s, yeah, you could see those. So, it really affected that because, like I said, I love sci-fi, but I was afraid to watch anything that had aliens in it after that. And even today, I'm very, I guess you would say, picky about my choice of alien movies because I don't like when they're abducted, and things like that. And so that type of movies I kind of, stay away from because they're terrifying to me. Because these little beings, yeah, they came that night. What were they after? They don't know. Nobody knows what they were after, and that was a great fear. What were they after? If they didn't get what they wanted, would they come back? So, and that was a fear that stayed with my dad and the rest of the family forever. My uncle JC was a Korean War vet, and the goblins scared him more than the war did. So that tells you something right there. So yeah, it did. And the reason that I finally got into it was back when the encounter was on the 50-year anniversary. The city of Hopkinsville decided to have a 4-day event. And when they did, they contacted me to come to this. They wanted me to sit on a panel for discussion. And I'm like, why? why do you want me? You know, finally I gave in and said, sure, I'll give it a try. And that weekend, when we were going to all this stuff, I found out that people did not know this story. You know, there were a lot of things that weren't right. Even today, you can read a lot of the newspaper clippings and things, and it's not right. Like, one of the big things is it was like 11 or 12 of the little bodies. Well, my dad was very adamant about the fact it was 3 or 4. Those 3 or 4 just kept coming back. You know, you read some accounts where Billy Ray was abducted. Well, Billy Ray was never abducted. That was my dad's friend. Um, what else is there? There's different things, like my dad's name is wrong in some of the readings you read, you know, things like that. And I thought, you know what? People really don't know the story that well. So that's why I decided to write the first book and, you know, get it out there and get it right. But
I want to ask you, prior to this event, what was your family like? What was Hopkinsville, Kentucky like?
all right, we're in the middle of the Bible belt here. So, you know, it's kind of strange. You've got your religious folks that, like my grandmother that was there that night, she's really, you know, she was really religious. Um, so you have this, and it kind of affects everything you do with your day to day life when you're around such things. And, you know, nobody that's lives in a very religious community doesn't understand that. So, you know, when this type of thing comes forward, it's like, you know, taboo, I guess you could say, because a lot of the really religious people here do not believe in such things. They think we are it, there is nothing else. And, you know, I have had that thrown at me several times when I've done various little events and things, you know, mostly events that involves festivals and things. Now, conventions and symposiums and things like that, I have no problem with. People are there for the alien. And, but if you do little festivals and stuff like that, you do have people that have some big kahunas on them, and they will come up to you. Like one year, I was doing a festival, and these teenagers came up to me and just outright told me I didn't believe in God because I believed in aliens. And I'm thinking, well, that's not true because I do believe in God. And, but you have people that think that way. And
Oh,
when,
yes.
you know, and that's how it is around here. It's getting better, definitely better, but you still have it. And it affects you. It affects you and what you do because people think you're crazy. Um, you know, like my family back then, you know, they were ridiculed so bad over this story. It was ridiculous. You know, they tried to stay away from it as much as possible. My daddy did not like talking about it. None of the others did either. And so they tried to stay away from it as much as possible. And I think that's why they kept it from us kids, because they didn't want us to be made fun of, especially young kids. You go to school, kids are cruel, you know, and they didn't want that on us. And so they kind of kept it quiet so it wouldn't hurt us and the others. But yeah, we grew up, you know, church atmosphere, and that's just how it was.
I bet it was harsh at times. I mean, even for you, even though you weren't born when that happened,
Mhm.
here you were having to live the result of the actions of the community, the people talking, as your dad or your family members, you know, walked through the grocery store or went down the boulevard. It had to be tough at times.
Well, you know what? It was kind of weird because people did not bring it up. Not when we were around. I mean, us kids never did hear people talking about it. Now, did people confront my dad and some of the others when we weren't around? Possibly. I don't know because he just wouldn't talk about it. Um, you know, it's just a weird thing. And, you know, even today, it still, affects me, like sitting right here by this window. It's dark out there. It's after midnight here, and when we're out at night, um, yeah, I keep my eyes to the sky because, it's just a thing. It's scary. Have I seen things that I can't explain? Sure, I have. I think most of us have. But it's a frightening thing to have something like this in your family. And a question that I get asked a lot is, because my family was involved, do I think they will come visit me sometimes or sometime? And I'm like, well, I surely hope not. But, is that a possibility? Sure. Any of us could get visited. It doesn't, anything could come up to your windows and doors like it did them. What are you going to do about it? Do what they did? Grab the guns and hope for the better,
We are going to get heavily into the story when we come back from break at the bottom of the hour, because that's where I really want to turn on the jets and allow you to get deep into what happened that day. But for you personally, you've written a couple of books now on this story, which can be found at Amazon. Alien Legacy, based on a true event, is one of them. And the Kelly Green Men, Alien Legacy Revisited, as well. From back in 2016, you wrote that. Why did you feel so passionate that you needed to write this biography on your family?
Because I just got tired of hearing the story wrong, and I wanted people to realize what they went through that night, that something happened, whether it be extraterrestrial, paranormal, whatever it was, something happened to 11 people in a little house in the country in Kelly on August the 21st, 1955. Something happened. And I want people to realize that. And the story is just so great and is so loved that I want to keep it going. It's too good to let it just fade away into the night. You've got you got to keep it going.
Now, I'm going to assume, and please correct me if I'm wrong, and I apologize if I am, that mom and dad are no longer here to defend themselves on
Right.
this story, and God bless them for that, by the way. But I'm wondering, do you feel that this is maybe these books are maybe a shot at the critics, a shot at those who were harassing your family over the years, the decades since that happened? Because I'm assuming here, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, please, okay, that your family is much like Andrea Perron's family with the Conjuring House, where they were always told, the critics were coming, oh, your family's making this up. That's not happening. It happened to a number of different people. Chris Bledsoe, more recently, that his UFO encounters and alien encounters are not real, and that he's doing it for clickbait and try and make money and everything like that. Do you find that you're writing these books and the passion about telling the real story about this is almost like a boxing defense to protect your dad's good name and your mom's good name and the family's good name?
I never thought about it that way. But yeah, I mean, and that's what it is. I mean, I've got enough stuff that it can't be questioned, because people have come forward since then and have told different things. That's mostly what the second book is about. And people that night and that day that this happened, people were seeing lights and hearing things in the sky all day long. And that night, people came forward afterwards. I mean, police officers, army people, they were coming forward. Neighbors around there were seeing and hearing things when this was going on. So, there's enough stuff out there that people have backed down and don't really contradict it anymore. They're like, this did happen. This happened to this family. So, I really don't get that anymore. Yeah, when I first started, yeah, I got a little flack about it. But here lately, it's just been, no, there's just too much. proof, I guess you could say. People seen too many things that day and night.
Do you feel then that for you, as someone who, has taken the time, that how do you let me rephrase that? How do you deal with the critics that to this day will say this never happened, the family made it up? It's much like the Patterson Gimlin Bigfoot film, where to this day people are still saying that it's a fake, it's a hoax. They wanted publicity, they wanted attention, they got their 15 minutes of fame.
It's like water off a duck's back. I don't care. They can believe what they want, and people are going to. But you got to have thick skin. I tell people, you've got to have thick skin to carry this story. You really do. If you have something like this, if you can't handle it, just back out, because you've got to be able to handle whatever's thrown at you, whatever questions are thrown at you, whatever people believe about you. You've got to just let it go and keep on going with it. It doesn't bother me a bit. I could care less what people think.
I love it. That's a great attitude to have. Let's have some fun with the critics here for a minute. Okay. What is the best insult or argument that you have heard that your family's story was fake? What's the one that makes you laugh or roll your eyes the most?
Oh, the whole alcohol thing is one. Of course, that's one of the questions I get asked too most of the time. But here lately, that question has not been coming up. That there was alcohol there that night, that there was a moonshine still on the farm, and all this bull hockey. Well, there wasn't. I mean, everybody that was there that night searched the farm. Alcohol was not found. Apparently, it is written in the police report that night. Alcohol was not found. And besides that, my grandmother would not let anybody do that around her 3 small kids, because she had 3 small kids back then. And it just didn't happen. And that one is the main one, I guess. And another is, of course, everybody back then that didn't believe it said it was a hoax. If they were doing it for money. Well, they didn't do it for money. And, why would they have shot up their house? When I get into the story, you'll hear all this stuff, but, it's just too much sometimes about that. But like I said, it just doesn't bother me.
I think the best one I had against a critic, as we got about 90 seconds to go here, was I was being interviewed on this UFO podcast about one of my experiences with a friend of mine, Samantha Mowat, where we had an encounter with an alien in the forest.
Mm-hmm.
And there was this person in the chat room who was just like, there's no way this happened. You're lying. You're doing this for listeners. You're doing this for clickbait. And I stopped the interview right there. I never usually pay attention to the chat rooms. And it was on YouTube. And I finally stopped the interview and I said to the person's name, I said, "Were you there?" And I said, do you know where the farm was in Mission, British Columbia, where this incident happened? Were you hiding in the trees?
There you go.
I said, because I know I was there. I know Samantha was there. Samantha knows I was there. But there was no other people there. So which tree were you hiding behind to witness that we're in the middle of the forest making this up as a goof? And I'll tell you, well, no, it's just that your story just seems so unbelievable that it's hard to fathom that it actually happened. I said, okay, that's different. That's different. Rather than coming out and saying it never happened, you're lying, you're doing it for clickbait and future listeners and all this. So that's still to this day my favorite one. That's my favorite one. Geraldine, I'm going to get you to hold on right there, because we are going to go to break here on Spaced Out Radio at the bottom of the hour here. Geraldine Sutton Stith, we are telling her true tale of her family's encounter with the Goblins of Hopkinsville, Kentucky. We will be right back on Spaced Out Radio right after this. Stay tuned, everybody. We'll be right back. All right, we are clear. Well, that half hour flew on by.
Oh, wow. It was already 30 minutes.
Yeah.
Dang.
Time flies when you're having fun.
Yeah, that's how it is. Ain't even told the story yet.
Well, we're getting into that next. Next half hour, after the next half hour, my weekend host, Rob G, who I guess was in communication with you
Mhm.
as well. He's so excited to chat with you that he is going to he's like, hey man, can I come on and join you guys for hour 2? And I'm like, of course you can. Of course you can. So he's going to co-host with us in that second hour.
Yeah, I knew he was going to try. So, cool.
Yeah, he's pumped.
Well, cute, cute, cute. um, I did get some good news last week.
Oh, what's that good news?
Well, see, we used to have a Kelly festival every year.
Yeah.
In Kelly, and it got killed during COVID, and they never did bring it back.
Uh-huh.
Well, it's probably a good thing they didn't, because a lot of the people in that little community are some of those religious people I was talking about, and they didn't like it anyway. So, got a call last week from the visitor center in Hopkinsville. They're taking it over. We're going to have a kickoff event next month to kick it off. And next year, they're planning on it being big. They want it to be a convention.
Nice.
And, they've got the facilities they can do it at. They've got the money to do it with. And of course, they want me to be a big part of it. They want me to be on the committee to help plan it. And we met with the executive director yesterday in Hopkinsville. And she is so excited. She's really going to get into it and do it right. So we're looking forward to it. So that's a good thing.
Amazing. Completely sounds amazing.
It's going to be good. She's going to really get it going. It's not going to be like it was in Kelly, which, Kelly is a small community. They only had a very, very limited amount of people that could do it, which I get that. But they couldn't decide whether they wanted it to be a gospel event or a goblin event, because they had to have their gospel singing. If you can believe it, yes, they had to have gospel singing at an alien event.
That's actually kind of amazing. That is kind of amazing. I'm looking at that. I'm like, oh my goodness.
It was crazy, but she's wanted to be a real alien cryptid type event, and I can get on that because I know a lot of people that would love to do it. So,
do you speak at many conferences?
Yeah, I do them all the time.
I bet.
I do. I've got you tonight. I've got another one Friday night. And I'm more scheduled out. And then I've got another con I've got to go to. I got another thing in Louisville I'm going to. And I get asked stuff all the time. I do little stuff too, like I don't mind at all if a nursing home calls me up and says, hey, can you come? I'll go to those. Those little old people love this stuff too. And, I've done schools. I've done museums. I've done library, like wherever they want me to go. If somebody calls me up and says, hey, can you come? I'll go. I've done everything.
Oh, yeah. All right. I'm going to get you to hold on right there. We're going to come back in about 45 seconds. Big thank you tonight to T-Bone, my man, for kicking off the super chat tonight. We very much appreciate it. Purple-haired Pixie Lara, love you for that super chat as well. Absolutely fantastic. We love your support of Spaced Out Radio. If you're new here, don't forget to hit subscribe, ring that bell. We are literally here 7 days a week for your listening entertainment. In hour 2, we will try and fit in some questions for Geraldine. So in hour 2, please put your questions in capital letters. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. You can wear our stuff out in public and be proud of it. Here we go. Let's kick off an exciting half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight, talking about the Kentucky Goblins with author and family member Geraldine Stith. Oh, it's about to get real exciting around these parts. I want to remind all of you that if you miss portions of this show or others, you can check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio. Do old Davey the favor, hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. We are joined tonight by author Geraldine Sutton Stith, literally writing the biography of her family from the Kentucky Goblins incident. Yes, Alien Legacy, based on a true event, August 21st, Geraldine, 1955. It almost sounds like we're setting up for Back to the Future in a DeLorean, but we are going to go back in time. Take us through the night, what happened to your family.
All right. Well, let me set you up first so you know who all was there that night. Of course, it was little bitty Kelly. Back then, the population might have been around 50. It's just sparse farming families. My grandmother, she was a widow, but she had a little 27-acre farm and 3 small children. They were 12, 10, and 7. It was Lonnie, Charlton, and Mary. Also living with her was my Uncle J.C. and his wife, Eileen. Every once in a while, Eileen's brother, O.P. Baker, would come over and stay the night. Well, he happened to be there when this occurred. Well, along comes my dad, his wife at the time, Vera, and their friends, Billy Ray and June Taylor. They were stationed in Evansville at the time, Evansville, Indiana. And it was just a couple hours from Kelly, so they decided to come in for the weekend, to visit and get some good old home cooking and all that good stuff. So anyway, you had 11 people in the house that night from the ages of 7 to 50. And the 21st, it was a Sunday. Okay, now this was August. It was a hot, dry month. And they were all sitting around the last evening. My grandmother had been to church and she had gotten home. And Billy Ray decides to go out to the well to get some water. They did not have indoor plumbing. They did have electricity, though. So anyway, he's out there, and as he's getting his water, he hears something, looks up to where this noise is coming from, and he sees a silver, oval-shaped object, what he describes the colors of the rainbow flowing behind it. He didn't know what this was. He runs in the house, slams the door behind him. It scared him that much. And everybody stops what they're doing and looks at him. And his wife, June, says, "Billy Ray, what's wrong with you?" She was as white as a ghost. And he says, "I just saw something. I don't know what it was." And he tried to explain to him. My grandmother said, "Well, maybe it was a shooting star." "No, I know what those look like." "Well, maybe a meteor shower then. We've been having meteor showers this month." "No, I know what those look like." Well, they kept on and he kept on. And my dad finally got aggravated with him enough. He said, "Take me out here. Let's talk about this again." He takes him out to the well, points to the sky, tells him again. My dad tries to reason with him again with the shooting star thing and the meteor shower thing. No, I know what those look like." Well, my daddy's nickname was Lucky, so he told him, Billy Ray tells us, Lucky, I know what those look like, and it was neither of those. And my dad tells him, says, listen, there's nothing out here now. Let's go back in the house, enjoy the rest of the evening, because we've got to go back to work tomorrow. So they're walking toward the house, and as they are, the old hound dog goes running by him, tail tucked, ears down, runs straight underneath the house. Dad don't think nothing about it. Well, he done gotten a beehive or something, gotten in trouble. They keep walking toward the house, and as they are, all of a sudden, they see this little 3.5 foot tall being coming from out of the woods behind the house. Had a big head, big glowing eyes, huge ears, arms almost touching the ground, and it was floating on top of the ground. They don't know what it is. We wouldn't know what it is. They go running in the house, slam the door behind them. Everybody stops and looks. Well, what's wrong with you two? There's something out here, my dad said. Well, the first thought they have is Billy Ray done got lucky out there to go along with this little plan, and they're trying to scare the girls because these were all young people. Billy Ray's wife was either 18 or 19. All the rest of them were in their 20s, except for OP, who was 32. And, of course, my grandmother and the kids. But that's their first thought. But it kept on. My dad kept saying, there's something out here, and we don't know what it is. And my grandmother told them, says, listen, I got to get these 3 kids to bed, and you're not helping me any. And he said, Mom, there is something out here. I'm telling you there is. Well, she knew it was really serious. One grabbed a rifle, one grabbed a shotgun, one went to the front door, and one went to the back. She thought, okay, I'll just go talk to old Billy Ray here and see if I can find out what's going on. So she goes out the back door where he's at, and she squats down beside him, and she says, Billy Ray, what did you see? And he said, Miss Glennie, I don't know what it was, but I hope it's something that you never have to see. So they sat there a little bit. They can hear everybody talking in the house. It's quiet. When all of a sudden, from the corner of the house where my grandmother was sitting, came one. She saw it. She screamed. She fell to the floor. Everybody heard her, so I'm sure she screamed pretty darn good. Came running out to where she was, and she told him, she says, I saw it. There is something out here. They're right. About that time, a shot rings out in the front of the house. My Uncle JC had shot one through the window. Well, Billy Ray runs by him, goes out the front door. As he's standing there, there's this little stoop over the door. There's this hand that comes down and tries to grab his hair.
Oh, my.
Aunt Eileen grabs it and yanks him back in the house. My dad runs out there, turns toward where the hand came from, and there it sat. He shot it, hit it. Of course, these are country boys. They knew how to shoot by the time they could walk just about. The thing drops, rolls, floats away. Somebody screams, there's one in the big tree, because they had these huge maple trees in the front yard. Sure enough, he turns around. There it sets in the big limb. Shoots it. He hits it. It floats to the ground, rolls away. By the time it's all said and done, they've shot one off the back fence. They're shooting them away from the doors and windows because they don't know what these things are. Are they trying to get in the house? What do they want? Well, everybody's hysterical. The kids are crying. The women are crying. Billy Ray's wife, June, is really hysterical and about to lose it. And what are they to do? Because they're shooting these things. They are hitting these things. And these things are not dying. They're getting up and coming back. Well, my dad settles everybody down and tells them, says, listen, we're going to get help. We're going to run to Hopkinsville. We will get some help out here. So they're sitting there and they're being quiet. And he says, let's just wait and see. So they're sitting there. It's quiet. They're not seeing or hearing anything when all of a sudden, lo and behold, one goes across the tin roof. They can hear its little nails clacking on the roof like it was doing it on purpose. Well, this sends the girls crying, the kids crying, everybody's hysterical again. My dad tries to settle them down again. And he says, listen, it's going to be okay. We're going to get to Hopkinsville. So he gets them settled down. They're quiet. Nothing's going on. So he says, let's go. So they hit the trucks and head to Hopkinsville, looking behind them the whole way. Hopkinsville, 7 miles down the road. Okay, this is 1955. So they run in the station. There's one little officer on duty. And here you got people from the age of 7 to 50, 11 of them, trying to tell them something just happened at their house. The officer's trying to understand, and he's like, you've got little men attacking your farmhouse? And my dad's telling him, you're not understanding what we're trying to tell you. We've got a big problem here. He says, listen, just hold on. I'll get help. He gets on the phone and calls the chief, Chief Russell Greenwell. He tells the chief what's going on, and he tells the officer, just stay there, try to calm them down. I'm on my way. He said, in the meantime, call Fort Campbell. Fort Campbell Army Base was like 10 miles from Hopkinsville. Call Fort Campbell, call the paper, call the radio, just call everybody that you can. We're going out to Kelly. So him and his wife jump in the car. They get there. Everybody else gets there. And you've got a little caravan of vehicles going out to Itsy Bitsy Kelly in the middle of the night. It's pitch black, dark, of course. This is country. No street lights. They pull up in the drive and get out. It feels eerie. It feels like something's happened here. Clearly something happened because there's shotgun rifle shells all over the ground outside. Shotgun rifle shells inside the house, woodwork shot up, holes through the screens on the inside of the house. What happened here? They searched the place. Now, the car with the officers did see a glowing substance by the fence where they had shot one. So the first thing they did, they jumped out, ran up to it to see what that was. Well, when they would go up to it and get close to it, the glow would go away. The only time you could see the glow is if you walked away from it. So they never could figure out what that was. They searched the premises, looked under the house, in the house, any buildings out there. They looked everywhere, could not find anything. The chief told my grandmother, said, Miss Glennie, I am so sorry, but there is nothing out here. I mean, there's no bodies, no blood, no feathers, no fur. We can't do anything. So they left. Well, my grandmother was left there with everybody to think, to fend for themselves. And she gets the kids to bed finally. She finally lays down. My dad sits beside her in the rocking chair, shotgun across his lap. They're mentally and physically exhausted by this time. And she's laying there with her eyes closed. She opens them and she looks at the window, and there stands one. And she's thinking, I'm just tired. So she opens her eyes a second time. The thing is still standing there. The third time she opened her eyes, she screamed at her dad and said, they're back. So he gets up. Everybody else gets up, and they started all over again trying to keep these little beings out of the house. Now, there was one time when my grandmother tried to reason with my dad, because to her, they looked like they were needing help or something, because they were coming up with their hands up, like in surrender, our thing for surrender. But my dad had no, no, that's not going to happen. We're not going to see what they are. We're not going to invite them in, old country boy mentality, shoot first, ask questions later. They're not coming in. And so their saving grace was the sunshine, because when the sun came up, they left. The only thing they can figure is their big glowing eyes could not take the sunlight. My dad sat everybody down and told them, says, listen, no good can come of this story. I heard them last night. They were making fun of us. They were out here laughing at us. So just forget it ever happened, and just let's go on with our lives. Well, the men went to town for a while. The women stayed there with the kids. And that's when the people invasion started. Word got out like wildfire. People were coming from everywhere wanting to talk to them. camping out in the yard because they wanted to see the little men. They didn't know what they were going to do because the people were walking through their house, taking souvenirs, walking in the yard, taking souvenirs. My grandmother was at her wit's end. My dad got back and she told my dad, she says, they're taking everything we've got. We're not going to have anything left. So he went and talked to one of the police officers and told him what was going on. So he came and made everybody leave. But as soon as he was gone, they would come back. My grandmother didn't know what she was going to do because my dad, Billy Ray, and the girls had to go back to work. She was going to be left there with the kids and JC and Eileen. You know, could they handle it if they came back? And that was the fear. What were they there for in the first place? And if they didn't get what they wanted, would they be back? So my grandmother sold the farm within 2 weeks and moved to Hopkinsville to an apartment complex. So did JC and Eileen. Some other family members did buy the old farmhouse. And the kids that lived there, if you were to talk to them today, they would tell you they were terrified. They didn't want to live in that house. People around there in Kelly were terrified. My mom and her first husband lived in Kelly at the time. They lived there and they had 7 kids. And she said they were terrified. Everybody was, because they didn't know if these things were going to come back. I can tell you this, that the morning after, Fort Campbell did send some soldiers out there. They did do a search grid. Of course, there was things flying overhead searching the area, but it was put away. Proper protocol never was made. No samples were taken. Nothing was roped off. Of course, it was contaminated. You had all these people coming in there, walking all over the land, picking up stuff. So you weren't going to find anything anyway. And, you know, that was it. I mean, you know, later on, you know, after the fact, after it settled down, people did come forward and talk about lights that were seen during the day, lights that were seen during the night that night. You had police officers and soldiers actually come forward and say that they had seen things during the night that night. And actually, the lights, if you look at it this way, it come over 4 counties. You had Clarksville, Tennessee. You had Fort Campbell, Kentucky. You had Hopkinsville, Kentucky. You had Kelly. There were lights coming across all 4 of those counties, but they ended up in Kelly. Why? We really don't know. A lot of people don't know that at the time, Fort Campbell Army Base did have a nuclear arsenal. But that wasn't being told, you know, that wasn't getting out. People didn't know that. So, you know, did they mean to stop at Fort Campbell and get sidetracked and end up in Kelly? Well, poor little guys ended up in the wrong place. They ended up in the wrong backyard because my family wasn't going to let them in the house. But that's what happened. August 21st, 1955.
So many questions.
Bring them on. Bring them on.
Okay, first and foremost, for the people who, as we paint a picture of this story, what did these beings look like?
Well, my dad and them said they were gunmetal gray. You know, they are called the Little Green Men. They were called Little Green Men because a reporter called them that, and it kind of stuck. Like I said, they were like 3.5 foot tall, huge long arms, big head, big glowing eyes, huge ears. They had maybe like a little, what would you call it? Slit for a mouth. But they couldn't, what bugged me about the whole thing is their feet. They never really paid any attention to their feet. And, you know, the hands had talons at the ends, long talons. And that's what was clicking on that roof, I guess, unless their little feet were. Like I said, they never really mentioned their feet. If you see the drawings, the actual drawings, they really don't have feet. And they said they you know, floated on top of the ground. You know, I don't guess they were concerned about seeing their feet, actually. But yeah, that's what they look like. Little gunmetal gray one.
And they figured there was probably 3 to 5 of them.
3, yeah, my dad always said 3 or 4. He is absolutely positive that the ones they were shooting were coming back. They were just
Right.
coming back. And yeah, there was never, I know you see drawings and pictures and stuff of all these little goblins on top of the house, and there's a bunch of them. And if you read accounts of it, it's 11 or 12 of them. Well, it wasn't that many. He was very adamant about that. It was only 3 or 4. And they were called goblins. And let me tell you this, the reason they were called goblins is because, like I said, my grandmother was really religious, and she had thought it was something that the devil had brought forth. She was thinking that she had done something wrong, and the devil had brought these little beings to, I don't know, rectify a situation. I don't know. But they were later figured out the alien thing because of the lights and this all this was seen, that they were aliens, not goblins. But I love goblins, so I stick to the goblins.
Yeah, I mean, the goblins you definitely would like to, have a little bit more fun with. That's for sure.
Yeah.
That is totally for sure. And we got about 3 minutes to go here before we get to the top of the hour. Geraldine Sutton Stith is our guest tonight on Spaced Out Radio. This event pretty much lasted all night long.
Yes.
Did the family or any members ever say what they felt may have happened if these goblins would have gotten into the house?
No, they never talked about things like that. I mean, like, you were very, very lucky if you got my dad to say anything about this. And as far as the others, of course, everybody's passed now except for the 3 young kids. My Uncle Lonnie, he's 80 now. Mary, she's in her late 60s, and Charlton's in his 70s. So, they don't talk about it. Lonnie used to a little, but he got to where he won't talk about it now. And I think it's because his mind is slower and he's afraid to, because he might not tell the right thing or tell it wrong or something, and he doesn't want that.
Right.
Mary, like I said, she was just 7. She was a little bitty thing, and these things were probably bigger than she was. And if you talk to Charlton, he's just like oblivious of it. It's just like, he doesn't want to believe it. He doesn't want to believe that happened to them. And, you got to think, my dad sat him down and told him, let it go. Don't talk about it. And I'm sure those poor kids probably got ridiculed to death at school. So I could see why they wouldn't talk about it anymore. Plus all the horror of it, the traumatizing part of it. Like, my Uncle JC was a Korean War vet, and this affected him more than being there, if that tells you anything.
The fear of talking about this from your families, we have 1 minute to go. Looking back on it, does it bother you that there wasn't more discussion of this, or was it fear that led to the silence?
It was fear that led to silence until that 50th anniversary of the event. And then it was like, oh, sugar, I wish I had talked to my dad more about this and found out more details.
Right.
But then too late, he passed. And but yeah, silence at first, because this was terrifying for me. I was 8 years old when I heard about this, and it was terrifying, utterly terrifying. And but then, like now, you don't know how much I wish he were here to just tell me more.
On that note, Geraldine, I'm going to get you to hold on right there because we are going to go to break here at the top of the hour. Geraldine Sutton Stith, we are going to continue on with her true story of her family's encounter with the I can't even say that word. Hopkinsville Goblins. Kentucky Goblins. Continue right after this. Right here, so long. This is Spaced Out Radio with host Dave Scott. Wonderful. Wonderful.
Do you do these every night?
Yeah, my radio stations make me do it Monday through Friday. Sweet Robbie G here.
Oh my gosh.
All right, there's Sweets. How you doing, Sweets?
Hey, how you doing? How you doing?
Hey, hey.
Hey, nice to meet you, Geraldine. Nice to meet
Right
you.
back, guys. I'll be right back.
Yep. Yeah, I've been waiting patiently to talk to you about this. This is such an amazing encounter. And truthfully, for me, and I'll say this again when we come back live, but it to me is one of the most compelling, encounters out there that I can think of.
Mhm.
And you have to wonder when you hear the story, if this was something someone made up. To me, the way I feel about it is, why would you make up a detail like the when you shot these things that they floated away?
Mhm.
Like, why would that be a part of the story if you were going to make it up? So there's just things for me that ring so true about this story. And yeah, I want to show a couple things here today.
Okay.
And yeah, I'll try to save it for the show. But
Okay. Well, you got to think though. There's a lot of things here because you had 11 people in the house. You're not going to have 11 people run in the middle of a police station in the middle of the night.
right.
I'm saying, especially a 50-year-old and down to a 7-year-old. My grandmother wouldn't have done that for one. Another thing is my grandmother. She was a pillar of the community. People loved her. She was religious. She wouldn't tell a lie if her life depended on it, and people knew this. Chief Russell Greenwell wholeheartedly believed the family. One reason is because he had an incident happen a couple of years before that himself. And the desk sergeant that was on duty that night actually had 3 incidences happen to him where he had seen different things. So you've got 2 officials right there that had incidences happen to them that, and that's another reason why the chief was in such a rush to want to get out there, because he knew there was possibly something happening to this family. So you've got so many things going on here that make this story so believable, and people wholeheartedly do believe this story.
Yeah. And wasn't there a report of someone seeing maybe a craft prior to this, like in the pretty close to the time this happened?
Well, there were several people that seen things that day, during the day and that night.
Okay, yeah.
So yeah, several people that came forward later on. So yeah, that's another thing too. People were seeing and hearing things. Crazy stuff. It is crazy.
Yeah. This is one of those ones for me that I if I had to gamble on it, I would say this is something that definitely occurred.
Mm-hmm.
And then I'm going to show some things that I don't know. I mean, we'll see because I have something that I thought was interesting, and I'll kind of tell the story on how I led myself to it as well, and then I'll let you be the judge.
Okay.
And let me see.
Didn't you supposed to have a video?
Yeah. Yep, a video, and that I'll show, and I'll give the backstory on it because it's kind of strange how I came to a conclusion that this could be related to it, because I had gone through these other motions just trying to figure out what this thing was to begin with, and it led me, after some research, it led me back to this Hopkinsville story. And then I was like, whoa, wait a minute. Could this be? And it exhibited some of the same behaviors, just a few different things that for me that was like, this might be related to that. It could be related. And then you talk about Hellier as well, where they had the whole sighting to those creatures. And even in those sightings or the descriptions that they gave there, kind of line up with what it is that I'm going to show today also. So I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens.
Very interesting. I'm curious.
Yeah.
I've been curious ever since you said that you had something.
Yeah. And here's the thing. Maybe you've seen this. And that's the thing. There's a good chance because this was something that went viral at a time. And I'm like, maybe she has seen this. But either way, I think it's good to, since we have you here going over this, it's good to kind of put it up there to see what people think.
Sounds wonderful.
All right, guys, we got about 45 seconds here before we're going to go. Big thank you tonight to W. Decker, Area 53, Super Kira with 2 super chats, Pixie Lara, and T-Bone. Thank you very much for the love and support. It's a great way to support what we do on this show. Hi, Broken Shadow Feather. How you doing? And who else has come in late? Let's see here. I think that might be it. Don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store at our website. You can get some great swag. Nothing's ugly there. You can wear our stuff out in public and be proud of it, including your Sweet Robbie G boxer shorts. You can get Sweet Robbie G right where it matters, only at spacedoutradio.com. So go check it on out. Here we go. All right, here comes hour number 2 of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We are talking about the Kentucky Goblins with Geraldine Sutton Stiff. We'll get to her momentarily. Sweet Robbie G is also here from After Hours. He wanted to chime in on this, so we'll get to him as well. Hi, everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire. Check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Desert Clam has set the password for tonight in the SOR Space Travelers Club. Sacerdotalism. Sacerdotalism is your password. God, sometimes I hate these passwords, Clam. The Clam sets the password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. All right, Geraldine Sutton Stiff telling the incredible true encounter of the Kentucky Goblins in Hopkinsville, Kentucky, and Sweet Robbie G from After Hours. You needed to jump in on this because you had some questions as well, my man. Welcome to the show, Robbie.
Thank you. Yeah, I did. Well, I had some things that I had looked at and put together like a year or so prior to this, and because the Hopkinsville case is something that has intrigued me since I came across it. I used to, and then I'll go ahead and get into this, Geraldine. I do this segment on a show that I do called Once Upon a Time in Ufology, where we go back and we look at old cases within ufology and kind of bring them to the light for the newcomers, because I think history is important. So in doing this, I came across the Hopkinsville case, which was something that compelled me, just all the elements to it, the landing in the field, in the woods, the creatures coming out with the arms raised, the all-night battle with these things. And one of the things that grabbed me was that these things were trying to get in the house. And in some cases you hear people say extraterrestrials can just walk through walls and do these sorts of things. So it was fascinating to me that these things didn't have that ability, and specifically they were trying to breach or enter the house. So that was one thing. And just the talk about the battle through the night and how it all resolved by going to the police station in the end. So had some time had passed, I ended up coming across a video that I saw, and I did not immediately make a connection with this video in this case, but it was a video that also intrigued me. It was very authentic in nature. I went into immediately in a rabbit hole searching for incidents where people had reviewed it and debunked it. So I wanted to get down to the bottom of it. Well, in looking through this, there was never a time where this video had been debunked. The only thing that they did say is that they confirmed that the thing in the video is a real thing. It is in the video, but what they ended up explaining it away as is a kid with underwear on its head. Now, one of the elements to this thing that was in this video is it had big floppy ears. And so
Oh.
I'm looking at this and I'm like, okay, well, cryptid or alien or what? Because I never heard of an alien with floppy ears. It just nothing resonated for me. So what I did is I went into this and I'll bring it up on stage here. I went into this alien timeline, this card that I had that actually depicts all the different type of aliens that have been reported since like 1947 going through some current time. And they have all these different type of extraterrestrials, and the only one that came up in the list that had big floppy ears was the Kellysville, Kentucky Goblin. So okay, now I'm looking at that. So I go into that and I started looking deeper into what these creatures look like, and there were different images like this one here, and it depicted big floppy ears and long arms with these talons or claws at the end of the arms. So okay, I took those into consideration, and then it clicked for me for the video that I watched. I'm like, well, there's some of the same characteristics you can see in some of the frames where the arms are definitely longer than they should be, and in a one or two frames you could make out what almost seems to be a claw in the video. Okay, so with that being said, and this is just kind of showing some of the images they have out there about this case online, and some of the old articles. But okay,
you got to make sure that we're explaining the photos to our radio audience.
Okay, so in these photos, it's depicting the actual incident where these beings are coming out of the forest with their arms raised. They have like a grayish, palish tone to them, uniformly head to toe, big floppy ears, and these claws at the end of their arms. And the video, and I'll show this video, and I've shown this to you before, Dave, and we've had discussions about this video. You tell me how you feel about it. I'll just show it. Here we go.
Rob, what are we seeing here for our radio audience?
We are seeing what in all aspects appears to be a being, uniformly colored, head to toe, very skinny in nature, but with disproportionate limbs, I would say. If you look at the limbs, and you can watch this back a few times, but you'll see that this doesn't line up. A lot of people agree that this is probably not human. It doesn't appear to be. And this went viral on Facebook about 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, I've actually seen this. Yeah,
Yeah,
I've actually seen this one. Yeah.
Never been debunked. So there's never been a time where someone has come out and admitted to this being a hoax. The mother quadrupled down on the fact that this is not her child. And in a lot of the frames, you can see that this, whatever it is too skinny to be human. And you have some frames where you can see the arms or the hands hang nearly down to where the knee of this thing would be. And it's just been something that's been compelling to me, because when I watch the Hellier series, it's in so many ways it kind of depicts, what it is that shows in this video. And then as well, if you could imagine these things in the story that we have just listened to, then you could almost visualize these as being the creatures that were in the video. Now, one of the things that also stood out to me was the fact that the video picked it up coming away from the house. So again, a situation where a being is attempting to breach the home for whatever reason. And it just, a lot of different things about it kind of resonated with the description in the story. And So we don't know either way if it is or if it isn't. But I thought it was really, really compelling, the similarities and, you know, some of the things that just lined up with the story. So that's what I wanted to show.
Yeah, I've actually seen that video. And it's creepy. It's creepy. I don't want to see it. I don't want to meet up with that.
And the only thing is, like, I'm just like, okay, it has floppy ears. So what else
Yeah.
out there has been described to have that, for one? And then for two, these things are trying to breach the home. And you know, like I said, the limbs are sort of proportionate to it. Obviously, there's a couple things that might not line up with it, but I just thought it was pretty compelling, and it stands as something that hasn't been debunked. So if it isn't that, it's something that we don't know or don't understand.
Right. Yeah, I do. I think it's something. I don't know what it is, but it's something.
Geraldine, are you surprised? Geraldine, are you surprised that with the attention that these goblin-like aliens have received over the years, and their very specific and unique look, that there's never been anything like it elsewhere that has gone as viral or as public as what your family experienced? Are you surprised they've never been seen again or even came around your family again?
Yeah, I am. It's really weird. You know, I've had people come forward and tell me that, well, I got a good story about one of them. Where I used to work, somebody came up to me one day and told me if I'd ever heard my, what was he? Boss's story. And I'm like, no, I don't know what you're talking about. Well, my boss actually passed away is what happened. And it was his wife and kids story. And after he had passed away, they were out in the backyard, and something that looked just like the Kelly alien come up in their backyard. Well, they got scared and they just went in the house and locked the doors, and they didn't look out anymore to see whether it was still there or not, but it looked exactly like that. And then I've had other people come forward and tell me of accounts of stuff like that. But, you know, you don't know. You know, you want to believe people, but you don't know whether to believe it or not, you know, because a lot of people want that 15 minutes of fame and, you know, all that kind of thing. And, you know, now the family that my boss had passed away, yeah, I kind of believe that. You know, I don't know why they would have lied about that. And they, you know, they were going through, you know, a very stressful time of losing him. And, you know, why would they have seen that at that time? It was kind of strange. But yeah, it is weird. It really is, you know, that these are really the only time they have been seen or talked about. You know, who knows? Other people could have, and they just don't want to come forward and talk about it because that's how it is in our society. You know, people just are afraid to, you know, they get labeled crazy or you're alcoholic or you're on drugs or something. Yeah. And, you know, people just don't talk about stuff like that unless they trust you, you know. Now, my husband and I used to have a little shop in where we used to live. It was a metaphysical shop, actually. And, after we opened it up, people would come in there and actually talk to me and tell me their stories. I've heard Bigfoot stories, ghost stories, light stories, you know, all kinds of stories from people. I guess they would come there and talk to me because they thought that I wouldn't think they were crazy, you know. And when I do events, you know, it's nothing to have somebody come up to me and say, you know, I've got a story to tell. Can I tell you my story? You know, and of course you listen. And, so yeah, I hear a lot of stuff. People are afraid to talk to people, you know.
And Geraldine, in the Hellier series, as I ended up watching that recently at Dave Scott's request, they were stating something along the lines of they believed they were coming out of these mine shafts or these caves.
Yes. See, I know the Newkirks. Greg came and talked to me before they even thought about this series, years before that, because of the story he had gotten from somebody in Eastern Kentucky. And he contacted me about it, and he asked if we could meet him in Kelly, and we met him in Kelly, and he wanted to know if Kelly had cave systems. Well, yeah, Kelly has cave systems. The whole state of Kentucky sits on a cave. And he wanted to know if I thought that maybe some got left behind and they ended up living in the caves. And as they lived in the caves, they changed. They like lost their ears and became pale and, all this kind of stuff. And I said, well, anything's possible. I believe anything's possible. I don't know. Could they have left a few other little fellers down here? Well, yeah, why not? Could they be living in a cave system? Sure, because there are caves around here that have not been touched, probably never will be touched. And sure. Yeah, but yeah, I know Greg and Dana. They're good people, and they really went far with this Hillier series, which I'm proud for them.
Me too.
Because it's good stuff. People love it, and I thought it was kind of neat that they connected, the Kelly thing with it and everything. And that's kind of funny too. People are so strange because I had people contacting me telling me, well, did you know they took your story, and everything? I'm like, no, they didn't. They had my blessing and everything they do. I don't care. And but you have people that are like that though. Yeah. But yeah.
Very compelling story. Very compelling. I think it happened. What do you think, Dave Scott? How do you feel? How does it make you feel?
Well, for me, I look at it like the fact that there is this legend. We don't know how they came in. We don't know how they disappeared. There was no real sighting of a UFO, just these weird, crazy-looking creatures running around torturing. Geraldine, why do you think they were aliens and not something maybe from the caves?
Because people were seeing lights and sounds all day that day and during the night that night. There was 2 boys out that night that lived close to my grandmother's farm. They were outside working on a bicycle or something, and they saw it. They saw the thing going across the sky. Didn't think nothing of it. They were just kids, didn't care.
Right.
Do you
think that it landed or that it crashed?
I think it landed at first because the following week after that man and woman came and talked to my dad about, well, I don't think I told that though, did I? A man and woman came and talked to my dad about the Kelly thing. That's how I found out at 8 years old. Because like I said, my parents kept this story from us. The following weekend, my dad took us to Kelly to show us where it all happened at. And we pulled up and the well was still there. It's still there today. The old house was still standing. And we walked to the back of the field, and lo and behold, there was this huge round spot on the ground where nothing was growing. Now, this was in 69, and that happened in 55. And, I've had people come and tell me that when they were kids growing up in Kelly, that they would walk across that field and walk right through that round circle. But they knew it was there. They'd seen it. And to this day, if you go back in the woods there, now it's grown up. It's really thick wooded area because I think they've cut the trees in forever in a day. But there is a place back in there that is sparsely growing and looks like possibly something happened there. But I wrote the second book because I found out things after I wrote the first book. And one of the things that I did find out was, and this is a crazy story too, you know, I have all kinds of crazy stories. My husband and I were at home one afternoon, and we actually had company. And the company was these two guys that were actually coming to talk about the Kelly story. So it's kind of funny. We were sitting in our sunroom, and as we're sitting there, our house was right on a corner, had streets on two sides of it. And this man kept walking by the house, and he kept looking up towards the sunroom where we were sitting. He'd walk by, he'd come by again, walk back down, you know, just back and forth, back and forth. Finally, he comes up to where we're at the back door and knocks on the door. And he asks, he said, "Are you the Sutton that has something to do with the Kelly incident?" And I'm like, "Yeah." I said, "That was my family." And so we all went out on the deck, and he started telling this crazy story. And he said his uncle was on his deathbed and said that he had something to get off of his chest because he had to let somebody know before he died. So he chose him. And he told him that the Kelly incident is real. It did happen. There was a spacecraft. There were 3 little beings. And when they left Kelly, they crashed 3 miles away. And that they came, cleaned it up, and took everything to Wright-Patterson Air Force Base. Now, if you go to Wright-Patterson, they do have a section of the base that they will not let you go on, not let you enter, won't let you near. So, did that happen? You know, that's one of those things that you have to take, you know, with a grain of salt, I guess. But you have to think about it. This guy paced the road back and forth trying to come talk to me, I guess get up the courage. And he had an uncle on his deathbed trying to tell a story before he died because he didn't want it not to be told. He wanted somebody to know it. And I guess the poor guy thought, well, you know, I should go tell her that his uncle had told him that. You know, and I've tried to look at Kelly and look 3 miles. I don't know which way 3 miles. But did it happen? I think it's possible. Who knows? But yeah, I mean, like I said, there was a huge circle on the ground, probably about the size of, I would say, a 32-foot swimming pool. It was pretty big. And yeah, I'll never forget that. You know, and then people were telling me that, yeah, they used to walk across that land and walk right through that thing. So, you know, it's clarification. I mean, it just tells you right there that something happened.
Yeah.
Almost sounds like what happened at Roswell.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
We have 1 minute to go before we have to go to break here at the bottom of the hour. Geraldine Sutton Stith is here talking about the Kentucky Goblins. We're also joined by Sweet Robbie G from the After Hours show. Curious, Geraldine, in a quick answer here, did any government officials ever come talk to your family over the years after that happened?
Not that I know of. Not that I know of.
Are you surprised by that?
Yeah. But, you know, then again, too, I've often told people that if those came back, if anything like that happened again, they wouldn't talk about it because, number one, they were too afraid to. Number two, they were made fun of so bad, they wasn't going to bring that up again and get ridiculed all over again. You know, this hurt my daddy's soul that people would not believe them because a man is his word.
That's right. And right there, we're going to end it right there as we are going to go to break at the bottom of the hour. We have Geraldine for another 30 minutes on Spaced Out Radio. We continue with the Kentucky Goblins talk right after this.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
All right, we are clear.
All right, and Geraldine, I just wanted to say thank you for it was a pleasure meeting you today, and
Thank
I have
you.
your contact. I'll stay in contact with you, and maybe we can set something up down the line.
All righty, that'll work.
You're not going to stick
All
around,
right.
Sweets?
Oh yeah, I'll stick around. Yeah. I was just gonna. Yeah, I'll stick around for sure.
Well, you scared me there for a second.
No, because I wasn't gonna, let you get back to business. But yeah, I'll stick around.
Oh yeah, stick around, man. Be a part of it.
Sure, why not? Certainly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You got any more good stuff? Bring it up.
Yeah. Like I said, it's just one of those ones. History is an important thing to me when it comes to this, because I think we can draw a lot of conclusions on future things that happen based off of the past, based off this incident here. If something like the video I came and brought forward was because it reminded me of this instance, and it's like, okay, well, we have that to weigh it against now, and then maybe there's some things that we can figure out by doing that. So
Yeah, and this is history. I mean, this is a part of history of Kelly and Hopkinsville. So, and they're trying to bring it back. I mean, and they will. But that little video you had, we seen that off of one of the shows we watch all the time. And when we seen that, I thought, dang, that's a creepy little sucker.
yeah, and it's just, okay, if it's something else, then it's, the thing is that I think, finding or figuring out what is going on, and there may be a million different things that are out there that we have to catalog and kind of bring forward. So, I'm all about the receipts. If we have them, bring them forward so we could see them, and let's put them up here so that everyone else can see them, and then it's there forever for you to weigh your experience against. So
Right.
I think that's awesome.
Yeah. Yeah. Well, when I seen that video, I thought, boy, that's a creepy little sucker. Whatever it is, it's a creepy little sucker.
Yeah. And that's the thing. I mean, you have these governments out there that are, going through the motions about, oh, we need to see something real, and all the evidence is down here. They just need to listen to your story. They need to check out a few of the videos that we have cataloged, and I think that pretty much would sum it up for them. But for whatever reason, they don't want to look at our evidence.
Well, they've got plenty of stuff. They've got plenty. I mean, I just did a MUFON symposium over the weekend, and there was, oh my gosh, person on top of person on top of person talking, and it's out there. I mean, they've got it.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Why do you feel they won't go ahead and just admit it?
Well, they're afraid of the breakdown of society, breakdown of religion. People would go crazy. You've seen what it was with COVID. Can you imagine if they said we had alien beings out here? Yeah. People would be locking up their doors and getting guns and getting ready for an invasion.
Yeah. And I'm really not against that idea. I just feel like we don't know what the purpose of them being here are. Like in this instance, they tried to get in the home. Who knows what would have happened if they were able to breach the home?
Well, this is my belief. They've been around forever. If they wanted to do anything with us, they would have already done it. My belief is, if you know the Bible states God made us from his image. What's to say that he didn't make all these others first and we were the last he made?
Yeah.
And all these others are out there to watch over us. And when we do something stupid, maybe, just maybe, they will jump in and stop us or try to help us or protect us or something.
Yeah.
You know, that might be a crazy thought, but
no, it's one of we can only have theories because we don't know. That's a great theory. I've heard that before, and there's theories for the entire spectrum, good and bad, because I hope they're good and I hope they're here to help, but if they're anything like us, then there's probably not a group of not so great ones. And
oh yeah, there's
you know,
always a bad egg in the bunch. So there's
Yeah.
probably some evil ones out there. We just don't want to see them.
yeah.
All right, guys, we got about 35 seconds before we got to get going here on the big show. And I want to say a big thank you to T-Bone ×2, Kira ×2, W Decker Area 53, and Pixie Lara for the amazing super chats. Thank you for the love and support, everyone. We really do appreciate it. Thank you to Sweet Robbie G from After Hours for coming on in and joining us. And don't forget, you can shop at our Spaced Out Radio store. We do not have ugly swag, people. No ugly swag. We're going to make you look good. And in fact, we're going to make you look better. Better than good. Why? Because our swag is not ugly. And people want to wear nice clothes. So go shopping at spacedoutradio.com. Here we go, everybody. All right, we passed the halfway point of Spaced Out Radio tonight. Talking Kentucky Goblins with Geraldine Stith. What a show it's been so far. Want to remind all of you that if you missed portions of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/Spaced Out Radio or join us on any major podcast network. Our website, spacedoutradio.com, we have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the Newswire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Geraldine Sutton Stith is here, joining us talking about her family's encounter with the Kentucky Goblins in 1955. Also joining us, special guest from After Hours on our YouTube channel, our great friend, Sweet Robbie G. And Rob, I know you have some questions for Geraldine before we get to some audience questions.
Yeah. We kind of went over most of the stuff, but I guess getting into some of the other things, what do you feel? What is the end goal for you as far as this story goes, or is it just for awareness, or what do you want to see come from telling this story?
Well, I'm just trying to keep it alive because, like I said, it's a great story. This happened to a house full of innocent people. And I just want people to realize that no matter who you are, it can happen to you. You just need to, be careful what you wish for because it can. And I just want people to realize what they went through that night because I don't think people realize how traumatizing something like this can be to somebody. This affected them the rest of their lives. Still today, the three that are still alive, it still affects them. And it's just crazy stuff. I mean, so yeah, I'm just trying to keep it going, and that's really it. I mean, I just want people to realize what they went through.
Yeah. Go ahead, Dave.
I just want to follow that up with the fact, because I thought that was a good question by Rob. In regards to you, Geraldine, and the rest of the family who survived, has there been any sort of UFO sightings, alien abductions within the family since then?
No, nothing I know of. And like I said, if there was, they probably wouldn't talk about it because of how they were treated back in 55 when all this happened and after. Because, people cruel. I know my younger sister was working in a factory here a few years ago, and they found out who she was. And they gave her down the road for that. And for the alien story, the Kelly story, and it's really sad. And I thought, really, I don't know. People are just mean sometimes. And you just got to be careful with it, I guess. But yeah, just that shows you right there how bad it could have been in 55. Because back then, I'm sure it was a whole lot worse. than it is now. Well, I don't know. It's pretty bad now sometimes. What was your question? I forgot. I went on a rant.
Oh, no, I thought it was great. I thought you took the answer right from it. It was about whether or not the family had any future alien abductions or anything, because a lot of people who have those close encounters all of a sudden become experiencers.
Mm-hmm. No, I don't think so. I've always said that my dad was a small man. He was small in stature, and but he would fight a bear for what he believed in. And there was two things on this earth that scared him. That was tornadoes, because he was in one, and the green men. That was the only two things I ever knew that terrified him. And you know, I get it, because we used to have that Kelly Festival, and every year they would have me get up and tell the story, and they'd always, you know, have everything timed out so you know the schedule. And I always noticed that my two uncles and aunt usually wouldn't come if I was talking. Now, the first year, I think Uncle Lonnie did, or maybe the first 2 years. But anyway, he quit after that. And one year they threw me in for an extra one. And it just so happened that my Aunt Mary was there. And she was out in the audience, and I seen her. And after it was done and I come down off the stage, she came up to me, and she was as white as a ghost. And her eyes were big, and she said, "Oh my God, it brought it all back. It just brought it all back." And you could tell she was terrified. And that day I understood why they wouldn't talk about it. They kept it in the back of their head. They didn't want to think about it anymore. And me just being up there bringing that up again, that whole night all over again. And she was a tiny little thing. She's tiny to this day. So these things were probably bigger than she was. I understood then why they were terrified, why they didn't want to talk about it, you know, because it was traumatizing. And 3 small kids, and her being 7, you know, I was 8 when I heard the story. I didn't experience it. I heard the story. So I can't imagine being there when all this is going on. You've got grown-ups around you firing off shotguns and rifles, trying to keep these little beings out of the house. Yeah, I cannot fathom what she went through being a little girl, you know?
True. And this is one of those stories, like I say, I mean, you have stories of people seeing ships in the sky. You have stories of people seeing beings come in their room. But this is like the full story, where it's the ship, it's the landing, it's the things that came out of them, it's the experience that was had with them, you know, for them to go ahead and turn around and leave. But that's what makes it, you know, it's a complete story. And what do you say to the people out there that and obviously I wasn't there, so I don't know any of this, but the people that say they tried to make money off of this story, that's one of the things that they like to say, well, because I think everything is rock solid about the story, but this is the one thing that people like to bring up a lot.
Yeah. Well, they were trying to figure out ways to stop the people, because they were coming in, like I said, taking stuff out of the yard, in the house, everything. And the only thing they could think of, hey, let's charge them some money. That'll stop them, because they can't afford to do it. You know, this is 55. People were poor back then.
Mm-hmm.
And that didn't even work. They'd come on, buy them, and just not even acknowledge that they were asking for 10 cents or whatever it was, you know. And so that didn't work either. So like I said, you know, my grandmother sold the farm in 2 weeks and got the heck out of there. Yeah. Because she was afraid they'd come back. So, you know,
so that's what that's what they were. Is that where they were turning? Because they were trying to make it seem like they had gone on afterwards and done events or different things in order to make money. So, but this actually was just the selling of the items on the ranch at the time.
No, they weren't selling anything. People were coming and
Or
taking
just taking it, yeah.
things for souvenirs. No, they were trying just to, charge them, I don't know, like 10, I don't know how much it was, 10 cents a quarter maybe to come on the farm. And that didn't even work because people would just walk right by them and ignore them. They didn't make anything.
Yeah.
They definitely weren't going and talking about it. That's the last thing they wanted to do because they wanted just to forget it, get away from it, and act like it never happened.
Yeah.
My grandmother had 3 traumatized kids she had to deal with,
Right. I can only imagine how they had to process that after from that point forward. That's just because that could be a lifetime thing, just living with that and fighting that. And wow.
Yeah, my Uncle JC never was the same again. He couldn't hold down a job. Things were just bad for him. I don't know if he stayed in his marriage or not, but because I remember Aunt Eileen, but I don't know.
Another example is like the aerial school, because I like to compare it to that because there was the full-on encounter where you were face to face with these beings, and like there is more of a current example, but it's also an example of going your whole life without having, being able to go to therapy for that particular thing and having to deal with that, especially as a kid, and then growing up into an adult and just how that affects you. So it gives you an idea of maybe what they were going through at that time, not being able to talk to anyone about it or get the therapy sessions going.
Right. And they didn't do anything like that back then. My mother had her religion, and I'm sure she depended on that a lot to get through everything she went through because my grandmother seemed like she handled it pretty well. Because I remember, being little and, being around her and stuff. And she seemed like she was fine. But like I said, she had her religion and maybe that's what she depended on. And maybe that's what got her through it where the others didn't.
True.
All right, let's get to some audience questions here for us here as we continue on with Geraldine Sutton Stith on the Kentucky Goblins. Let's go to Seven Systems, who is asking, Geraldine, were there ever any reports of strange events at that property in later years?
No. I don't think there's ever been anything on the property since. I mean, there was one time when somebody said that they seen a black figure there in Kelly, but I don't think it was on the property, and they never could figure out what this it was like a black cloaked figure. And they never could figure that one out. But other than that, I don't think anybody's ever come forward with anything else. Like I said, my grandmother sold the farm, so she didn't go back on it anymore. But and as far as the other people that have the land even now, they don't, you don't get them to talk about it any, that's for sure.
All right, let's move on to another question here. This one coming from Paramarv. I believe you said Grandma sold the house in a couple of weeks, but did you say some other kin bought it later?
Yeah, some more family members bought the house. And like, if you were to talk to any of the people that were kids back then that were in the house, they hated it, absolutely hated the thought that their parents bought that house and let them move into it. Because like I said, everybody that lived in Kelly was afraid. They were afraid these things were going to come back because they didn't know what they were there for in the first place. If they didn't get what they wanted before, what's to say they wouldn't come back and try again? So, everybody was kind of on the alert in Kelly. But as far as I know, they never did come back unless they went and hid in the caves.
All right, let's continue on here. Another follow-up question from Paramarv. You mentioned your aunt and uncles not talking about it anymore. Were they ever interviewed on camera to tell their stories?
The only one that ever would was my Uncle Lonnie. Now, he was the 12-year-old. Here a few years ago, there was somebody that came in to do a documentary, and he was on that documentary. And I think he's done a couple of little interviews earlier on. Like I said, he's 80 years old now, and he doesn't never talk about it anymore. And I think part of that is because he is older, his mind has gotten weaker, and I think he's afraid that he would say something wrong or not right, and that's the last thing he wants to do is tell something wrong. So he just kind of backed away from it. But yeah, earlier on he did, like I said, a documentary and did a few little interviews, but that was it.
We'll give Paramarv the hat trick here. He's really excited about this. What was said amongst the family about the UFO sighting that preceded the event?
What UFO sighting that preceded the event? What do you mean?
Well, that could be one of the rumors that is out there.
The only thing, well, the only, people see things all the time, now as far as Kelly, around that part of the country, you have got Fort Campbell Army Base down the road. So I think a lot of people, they may see things, but they put it off on Fort Campbell because, we live next to an Army base. We live up here by Fort Knox. And, people see lights and different things. They think, okay, maneuvers. They're doing maneuvers. So, if there were things seen after the fact, a lot of people's going to put it off on that to get it off their mind because they don't want to think it's a UFO. There have been people come forward and tell me they have seen, they think, actual UFOs, sure, around that area. But nothing's documented. I mean, they're not going to go and tell the Army base, hey, I seen this. Did you see it? Or whatever, or the local police. They just keep it to themselves and go on. Any lore?
Final question from Paul. Any lore preceding the encounter?
Not really. I mean, it's a pretty cut and dry story. Nothing else has been seen around there as far as I know. So, no, there's not any lore going on around there. I mean, the Kelly community, they're a really tight religious community. And they really don't want this story hanging around. I'll be honest with you. A lot of them don't believe there is such a thing. We're it on this earth, and that's it. There's nothing else out here. That's how they believe. Hopkinsville is the one that's going to take over this story and make it right.
Right.
Not Kelly. So
why do you think the people of Kelly today don't want this part of their history?
I don't know. I don't understand it. The people that own the land that all this happened on, like it was 27 acres, and it's been divided up. I think 4 different families have the acreage now, but the acreage part where the well, the house, and the landing is, one family owns that. It's one long stretch of land. They will not let you on it. You can't get near it. We've tried because I've done TV shows and stuff, and they've actually been offered money, and they will not let you on this land. They have cameras up. You knock on their door, you might get met with a shotgun. And the people around Kelly, like I said, it's got 2 churches right there on the train tracks. So, people around there just don't want it. When we did the Kelly Festival there, you could tell it was not wanted there. They did not like it. We never understood what the problem was with it. Because it's a great story. It happened to an innocent family. Why not embrace it and reap the rewards you could get from it? But no, they don't want nothing to do with it. Back when we used to have the festival, the park where they had it at, they actually built a huge flying saucer. I mean, it was huge, big metal flying saucer. As soon as they found out that they weren't going to have the festival no more, they went in there, took that baby down, and took that metal to the recycling center. It was gone, you know, and that's fine. That's fine. Like I said, Hopkinsville contacted me last week, and they're taking over the whole thing, and we're going to start having probably a convention. It's going to be big. We're having a kickoff thing next month to start for next year, and they're planning on making this. I'm hoping as big as Roswell. I think they can do it. But yeah, you have that mindset. I mean, you've got people that are like that. We live in the Bible Belt here.
You know what? In a strange way, Rob, I'll pass it back to you in a couple of seconds here. In a strange way, I live in a community like that too, where we have a lot of high strangeness here with alien abductions, with paranormal, and a lot of cryptid stuff in the forests. But nobody here wants to take advantage of that and have somebody set up an event like this in order to promote it. They don't understand. They're more worried about embarrassment on the topics than they are about the potential of the tourism revenue that they can bring in regarding this. I mean,
Exactly.
it's ridiculous.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. You know,
Rob?
and the fact remains, everybody knows this story. I mean, it is out there. I get contacted from people all over the whole world here. I mean, everywhere. And, you know, it's just crazy that you've got this little community that won't embrace something that is so great, something they can really do something with and do something for their community. Because let me tell you, the community ain't got nothing. I know there was a lot of negatives there, but it ain't got nothing. And, you know, here Hopkinsville is, well, we'll do it. You know, they got the money. They got the places they can do it at. They'll do it. So that's fine.
Robbie G?
Yeah, I
had
one. So Geraldine, put even just setting this story aside, this incident here, had there, and if I missed this earlier, I apologize, but has there been anything within your life that made you a believer outside of this incident, like something you may have experienced or seen yourself?
Oh yeah, I've seen things. One good one I'll tell you real quick. When I was around 12 years old, of course, like I said earlier, I would shut the windows, doors, curtains, everything, because I was afraid these things were going to come look in at us after I heard this story. But when I was about 12 years old, every night I'd make sure my curtains were shut tight, no cracks, no light coming in, nothing, because I was afraid. Well, one night I was going to bed, and of course, everything was closed up tight. Something, I don't know what, made me look out that window. I pulled that curtain apart and looked out the window. When I did, there was this craft going across the sky, and it was so weird. It was square. It was a rectangle, actually, not a square, a rectangle. It had lights in each corner. And it was just, the sky was clear. It was just going across the sky real slow. I couldn't hear anything. I thought, what the heck? So I closed them suckers shut, and I got in bed and covered up my head, and I thought, So the next morning I got up, went to breakfast. It was school morning, and I thought, I'm going to see if anybody else says anything. Well, of course, nobody else looked out the window or went outside that night, but nobody said anything, and I never said anything about it. I only started talking about it just a few years ago.
Wow.
But yeah, I'll never forget that. And, you know,
On that note, I have to end it right there because we do have to go to break here at the top of the hour. Geraldine, thank you for coming on Spaced Out Radio tonight. You can find her books on Amazon, Geraldine Sutton Stith. Go check them on out. Coming up next, Steve Stockton, and then Tim James with the UFO Report.
You're listening to Spaced Out Radio with your host, Dave Scott.
Sorry, I had to time it out there, everyone. But, thank you, Geraldine.
Great stuff.
Thank you. I really appreciate y'all having me on.
Thanks. Lovely meeting you once again, and I will be reaching out to you.
You too. Thanks, guys. I appreciate it.
All right, Dave Scott, out of here, buddy.
Sweets, we'll talk to you this weekend, brother.
Yep. See you then.
Much love, bud.
Later.
Okay.
Later.
Bye, guys.
G and Geraldine, thank you. We'll say goodnight to Geraldine. Great show. Absolute great show. That was fantastic. We'll be right back, everybody.
Mop your floor, sir.
All right. All right. Thank you tonight to Human Carl, Paramarv, T-Bone times 2, W. Decker Area 53, Kira times 2, and Pixie Lara for the wonderful super chats. Greatly appreciate the love and support. Thank you for helping us on out. Moody Mogul, how are you? Astral Fugitive, good to see you. And anybody else hop in here late? Amy Amanda, thank you for coming on in. Greatly appreciate that. So we are caught up. Here is the third and final hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. My name is Dave Scott. So glad you're joining us. Hope you enjoyed the first 2 hours with Geraldine Stith on the Kentucky Goblins. We'll get to the UFO report with Tim James coming up here momentarily. But first, I want to say hello to everyone listening in on our terrestrial affiliates around North America, digitally on every major podcast network. Download us for free, man. As many shows as you want. It's all free. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. The Space Travelers Club password for tonight, courtesy of the Desert Clam, is sacerdotalism. Sacerdotalism is your password. Use it wisely, Space Travelers, as the Clam sets a password each and every night right here on Spaced Out Radio. Let's go to Steve Stockton from Among the Missing.
Hello, friends. Welcome to Among the Missing YouTube channel on Spaced Out Radio. I'm Steve Stockton, and I'm about to take you on an unbelievable journey of people just like you. Their stories and encounters will haunt us on Among the Missing. I was an ambitious young journalist from Lexington, eager to make a name for myself. When rumors surfaced of mysterious disappearances in the remote parts of Harlan County, I saw my chance. Armed with nothing but a notebook, a camera, and naive courage, I drove my old Jeep into the heart of the Appalachian wilderness. The road twisted and turned, squeezing between towering oaks that seemed to lean closer as I passed. By the time I reached the village of El Calo, the sun was a mere memory behind the hills, and fog crept across the road like a living thing. In El Calo, really just a wide spot in the road, I stopped at a rundown gas station where an old man with eyes as gray as the fog watched me approach. When I mentioned the disappearances, his expression hardened. "Boy, some truths ain't worth chasing. Turn back if you've got any sense," he rasped, his voice a warning carried on the wind. Ignoring his advice, I continued, driving until the paved road gave way to gravel, then to dirt, and finally to nothing more than a cow path. I set up camp as dusk bled into night, the darkness in the woods so thick it felt tangible. As I tried to sleep, the silence was oppressive, broken only by the occasional distant howl that didn't quite sound like any animal I knew. Sometime past midnight, I woke to the sound of footsteps outside my tent. Gripping my flashlight, I unzipped the flap slowly, peering out into the darkness. My light caught dozens of tiny reflections, eyes watching from the trees. I told myself it was just animals, but a part of me knew better. The next morning, I ventured deeper into the woods, following a barely discernible trail marked with faded ribbons tied to branches. Hours passed, and the deeper I went, the more I felt an unsettling presence all around me. I stumbled upon a clearing where the ground was soft and disturbed. Half buried in the earth, I found a shoe. A man's shoe, weather-worn and muddy. My heart raced as I unearthed more. a torn piece of a shirt, a broken wristwatch, a rusted pocket knife, the remnants of the missing, perhaps. That night, the true horror began. As darkness fell, the forest came alive with sinister whispers. They weren't words exactly, but they spoke of hunger and pain. I tried to convince myself it was just the wind until I heard a clear, chilling laugh, human and cruel. I realized then that I was not alone, and worse, I was being hunted. Shadows moved between the trees, circling my camp. I could see their outlines now, not quite human, twisted by generations of inbreeding and isolation, and something far more unnerving. In a panic, I ran, crashing through the underbrush, guided only by moonlight, branches tore at my clothes and skin, but fear propelled me forward. I didn't dare look back, though I could hear them following, their footsteps a discordant symphony in the darkness. Just when my lungs felt they were going to burst with effort and despair gripped me, a light appeared through the trees. A cabin, old and leaning, but it looked like sanctuary. I burst through the door and barricaded it with whatever was at hand. Inside, the air was thick with a smell of mold and something else, something rotten, like flesh. With the light of my now dying flashlight, I explored, finding a room that chilled my soul. In it was a shrine of sorts, with bones arranged in grotesque patterns and dried remnants of organs which I feared might not be of animal origin. The realization hit me then. I'd found the lair of whatever hunted in these woods. But before I could flee, the door rattled violently. They were here. Despite my barricading it, they were trying to get in. I scrambled to the back of the cabin, finding a small window. With no other choice, I smashed through it, landing hard on the ground outside. The chase resumed, more desperate now. I knew that if I stopped, if I succumbed to the exhaustion, I would not survive. Miraculously, the first hints of dawn soon began to lighten the sky, revealing the path back toward civilization. These creatures, these pharaohs, whatever they were, faded back into the shadows with the coming light, their whispers still echoing in my ears. I didn't stop running until I reached my Jeep, jumping inside and driving without pause until I reached the safety of my apartment in Lexington.
Thank you to Steve Stockton for another great report. If you want more, you can head on over to his YouTube channel, Tales Untold, and listen to more there just for free. Let's get to the UFO report.
That is an interplanetary flying space saucer. You have made me very angry. Very angry indeed.
All right, we have Tim James in for the UFO report, hanging on out with us and going to give us some news. But first, I just want to say something that's very important to me. Twice a year, I wear a baseball cap, a Nike baseball cap that I got for my nephew. And unfortunately, I got it for my nephew after he passed away. On this date, I was about to do this show in 2018, and it happened to be this same night, 6 years ago. And I got a call from my sister saying, has anybody called you? And I said, about what? Because I don't get calls from family. My parents didn't even call me. You know, like, we're not a tight family, and I'm kind of an introvert. You know, I get along great with my dad. You know,
I get it.
I always have.
Yeah, I get it.
You know, but my sister called me to say that my nephew Bryce had passed away, that he was found dead in a park in Vancouver, sleeping on a picnic table, just sitting on the bench, his head down on the table, and he had passed away of a fentanyl overdose. And I was 15 years old when my nephew died. And twice a year, I pay tribute to him. I pay tribute to him on his birthday, which is April 13th, where he would have been this year 35 years old. And I pay tribute on his final day, which is 6 years ago today. And there's a couple things that I want to remind people about this. Fentanyl is an ugly, ugly drug. It is not forgiving. And I remember talking to a police officer about this. And he said, you get a little baggie of fentanyl, one of those little square baggies.
Yeah.
Okay. And you split it in half. Let's say, Tim, you and I were addicts and we split it in half. Your half may be fine. My half may be too potent.
Oh, really? Okay.
It can happen that fast. Okay. But there's a lot of people out there listening to this in Radio Land, on YouTube, on podcast, who are dealing with these monsters called drugs, called alcohol, mental illness, whatever it may be. And I don't like to talk ill of my nephew's passing, because if you saw my nephew, you would never, ever in your life swear that he was an addict.
Mm-hmm.
He was about 5'11", in fantastic physical shape. He made sure that he took care of his body.
Yeah.
And he was in great, great condition. He was a tough kid. You know, I wish he would have put his energy and his emotions into something like boxing or UFC or something along those lines. Because I really do believe some sort of martial art or physical sport would have really helped him out. But the fact is, he didn't. He went down a different path and he's no longer here. But the one thing that I learned over this time, because there's lessons in everything, and I can look back at this in hindsight and say, this is what I learned. I learned that not everybody is a junkie. Nobody's a junkie. We use these ugly terms like junkie, like waste of oxygen, right? Like all of these terms, we use them to put these people down who are the lowest of the low.
Mm-hmm.
And you know what? I was guilty of that. When I worked in downtown Vancouver, I used to think it was funny to bully these people.
Oh.
And what I'm saying is, you know, they would say, hey, sir, can you spare some change? And I worked in radio. I was a poor man. In radio, we used to call ourselves pseudo celebrities because everybody knew who we were, but we sure as hell weren't paid like celebrities. So my saying to a lot of these, and I thought it was funny at the time, but looking back on it, I was just a jerk. Okay. And what I said back to them was, do you take Interac?
You didn't.
Right? Or I work in radio. Can you spare me some money?
Mm-hmm.
Okay. Because you get tired when you work in a city where there's a lot of homeless people and a lot of destitute people.
Yeah.
You get tired of it, getting hit up every day. And because the public thinks these people are not worthy of anything good,
right?
They sit there and you kind of gang up. It's a gang mentality. You gang up on these people. We don't know their history, but you know what? The one thing I learned with my nephew, okay, was that these are brothers, these are sisters, these are
100%.
children.
Yeah.
These are uncles, their aunts, their cousins, their nieces, their nephews, their friends.
Mm-hmm.
Somewhere out there, people love these people.
Absolutely.
And maybe they've tried too hard and it just hasn't worked. We don't know the demons that drugs like cocaine, fentanyl, heroin, and all of these drugs actually put in people. Because it's one thing that I learned about this is that fentanyl is a devil. It's a devil. Okay. And how do I know this? Because my nephew is a proud young man. He may not have made some of the best decisions in his life.
Who has?
But this fentanyl tells your body, I'm going to make you feel good.
Mm-hmm.
I'm going to be your best friend.
Yep.
I'm going to make you feel better than you've ever felt before. and I'm going to take you down a road to prosperity. I'm going to take you down a road of love, and you're going to love me.
Mm-hmm.
You know who else does that? I don't care if you believe in the Bible or not.
Right.
The devil does that.
Yeah. Yep.
I equate fentanyl to the devil. I really do. And God bless my nephew. I had him for 29 years.
Right on.
I was 15 years old when he was born. My sister was 10 years older than me.
Mm-hmm.
Okay. And I grew up with him. This one hit hard when it happened. And I cried.
Yeah.
And to this day, every now and again, he'll come to me.
Cool.
And I sit there and I look at this, and I want people to know this out of this lesson. And I apologize. I'm going to take to the bottom. I'm going to take to the bottom of the hour here.
Go right.
Okay. Because I only do this twice a year.
Yeah, absolutely.
All right. Here's something that I want to say. For people out there who are struggling, who are having addiction, you are loved. You have value. You may not see that value because the addiction is the devil. The addiction has said, you can't rely on anybody but me. I'm going to get you through this. I'm the one who's going to make you feel good.
Yes, sir.
Okay. That's the devil working.
Mm-hmm.
And I learned these people that I called junkies, that I wish they would just hurry up and OD and die. They're human beings. So the next time you're walking down a street, doesn't matter where it is. Okay. I watched a gentleman today. I was driving down one of the roads past our hospital in town, and there was a guy stoned out of his tree walking up the sidewalk towards the hospital. I felt sorry for him.
Mm-hmm.
I used to, if I go back 10 years, I'd have been like, what an idiot. Look at this moron.
Yeah.
Look at this idiot who has wasted his life. I don't know how he got there.
Nope.
Everybody has a story. And we've forgotten, because we're into clickbait, we're into social media and fakeness and facades on social media. Oh, look at the meal I'm having with my glass of wine.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Or crap like that. We've forgotten that there are real people out there with real issues.
Yeah, for sure.
And the one thing, and I've said this and I haven't answered it yet. The one thing I learned about my nephew is, it doesn't matter whether you're an addict or whether you are a former addict, a recovering alcoholic, whatever your issue may be, you have value. And please note, everybody out there, that if you have a problem, whether you are being abused physically, sexually, whether you are battling alcoholism, whether you're battling depression, anxiety, there is help out there. There is help. You may not get it the first time. That devil may win, okay, the first time. But remember, a war has a bunch of different battles that you win and lose. You can't think about the battle.
No.
You have to think about the war. There is a war for your life going on when you are an addict or you suffer from depression, anxiety, okay? And I want everybody to know out there in listener land, if you're struggling, reach out and get some help. There's always someone there. You may have to go through 100 phone calls. You may have to go through 100 people on social media, but there is always somebody there to help. You have value. That's the one word I've learned in the last 8 years, is value. I've questioned my own value because of my depression and anxiety. I went and got help. I needed counseling. Okay. My nephew, God rest his soul, he was battling and he was in rehab when he went to the gym that final night. He went to the gym and somebody said, "Hey, why don't we have a party?"
Right.
And that's what happened. And he fell asleep beautifully on a picnic table. Okay. We don't get him back. My family lost the war.
Yeah.
My sister lost her only son. I lost my first nephew.
Mm-hmm.
But you know what? It doesn't mean that we as a society, give up on people. And there's too many of us out there who, hey, we may not have $50 in the bank account. We may not have $500 or $5,000 or $500,000 in the bank account. But you know what? The one thing that a lot of people need out there, whether you're an addict, whether it's depression, anxiety, is a conversation can change an entire person's outlook if you show and take the time to show value to that person, to tell them they're worth it, to tell them that they're doing a good job. If you're an employer, when's the last time you told your employees, I value you? Okay.
Right.
That seems to be a lost cause in business today. If you're an employee, when's the last time you went up to your boss and said, I really love it here. Thank you for this job.
Yeah.
When is the last time you gave your wife or your husband or your spouse or partner a compliment? Take the time, because they all have value. And that is the lesson I learned hard when I looked at my nephew in his coffin. He did not look like a junkie. He did not look like somebody who was addicted to fentanyl. He did not look like someone who had a problem. And there he was, lying deceased right before me. And I still have those pictures on my phone. I still have those pictures of what he looked like. And I will never forget that. And in fact, in my studio here somewhere, just down there in that pile over there, I have a picture of him from when he was 5 years old playing hockey.
Right on.
Okay.
Holy cow.
If you are an addict out there listening to this and you're waiting for that one sign of strength, please get help. Please get help, and please value yourself as a human being. Value yourself, even if you don't have any family or you don't get along with your family or whatever. There is somebody out there, a grandparent, a cousin, an uncle, an aunt, a teacher, a coach, a friend who still thinks about you every single day. And there's nothing more that they would want is to try and reach out to you or you to reach out to them to say, help me. There is always help. And sometimes it's a complete stranger. Okay. But that complete stranger will make time for you to show you how much value you have. So in closing, we got about 45 seconds, and I promise we'll get to the UFO report with Tim James right after this. Google, pick up your phone, hit an app. If you have an addiction, go get help. Okay? Don't put your family through what my family had to go through 6 years ago today. We love you. You have value. You deserve to live, even though time is tough. You deserve to live just as much as any one of us, and you deserve to be happy.
Amen.
This is Spaced Out Radio. My name is Dave Scott, and we will be right back with the Cryptid Report as Tim James is in studio with an update on UFOs in Canada. What's happening in the Great White North? We'll be right back.
This is Spaced Out Radio and your host, Dave Scott.
Just give me a minute.
Yeah. No problem. That was powerful, man, and it was a fantastic message.
For a lot of you don't know, I was sitting in this chair when I took that phone call. That doesn't look like an addict, does it? Good-looking kid. Thanks, Tim Mothman. Country Carpenter, how you doing? Hi, Miss Tessa Marie. Bombshell Bomber, how are you? Eva. Aaron P., welcome to the show. I said hello earlier in the chat, but I want to just mention a big hello to you for welcoming you to our show for the first time. Captain K-Rod, how are you? Anna Boeen, good to see you. Bob Marley, Nina Williams, thank you for coming on in.
Bob Marley's here?
Bob Marley, the Buffalo Soldier, is in.
Yeah.
Thank you again, T-Bone, for the hat trick. Right close to his birthday a couple years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Every now and again, I could feel him around.
Right.
And right close to his birthday a couple years ago, I remember walking out the front door. You know my front door.
Yeah.
The path to my driveway. And I'm like, happy birthday, Stu. Like his name was Bryce, but I called him Stu. And so I haven't heard from you in a while. Where you been, man? And I walked to the end of my path.
Yeah.
And how many birds around here do you see with white feathers?
Here?
Yeah.
Mm.
There's a white feather sitting on the bricks, on the last brick on the path.
That's very cool.
Right in front of my vehicle.
That's so cool.
And I'm trying to rack my brain
Mm-hmm.
of white feathers, like pure white feathers.
Yeah.
About that long.
Can't even debunk that. Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
My sister would find white feathers. His mom
Oh, wow.
would find white feathers.
That is so awesome.
And dimes.
Dimes.
I never believed in the dime
Mhm.
thing at all until he passed away.
Yeah. My wife's mom or my wife's grandmother leaves dimes.
Yeah, I never believed dimes. Dude, I never carry change.
Mm-mm.
And there's been times where I've reached in my pocket and there's a dime in there.
It? Yep.
Thank you, T-Bone with a hat trick. Pixie Lara, Paramarv, Human Carl, Tim Mothman and his goatee, Kira ×2, and W Decker Area 53 for the wonderful super chats tonight. Dark Starry Sky, how are you, my friend? Good to see you. And here we go, everybody. Like 7 seconds. 6, 5, 4, 3, 2. All right, let's turn the jets up for the final half hour of Spaced Out Radio tonight. We're getting into the UFO report. We have Tim James here in studio. His beard politely trimmed for the show.
Even did my hair tonight.
I love it. I love it.
I know.
Reminder to all of you that if you missed most of this show or others, you can always check out our free archives by going to youtube.com/spaced out radio. Do old Davey the favor. Hit that subscribe button. Our website, spacedoutradio.com. We have a plethora of features for you. Rock out to Bumblefoot, read the news wire, check out our swag as well. Follow us on X at Spaced Out Radio, Instagram at Spaced Out Radio Show, and on Patreon in the Space Travelers Club. Here we go. Tim, how you doing, man?
I'm doing well, and you?
I am doing great.
First of all, let me just say, and I'm going to come clean to everybody here, as a recovered addict, a drug addict, you nailed her. You hit her on the head. That was very powerful. And thank you for sharing. It kind of chokes me up. Thank you for doing that. That was awesome. So moving forward.
I didn't know that about you.
Yeah. I spent, we won't get into a big thing about it. I spent probably 4.5, 5 years of my life playing with the Peruvian marching powder. Right. So yeah, I lost everything.
Let me ask you this question before we move on.
Yes.
What's it like to win?
Hard. But doing that is getting out of that hole was probably one of the hardest things I ever had to do. But the first thing, like you said, asking for help, admitting you got a problem and asking for that help, the doors just opened. Now it's up to you with support of friends and family and whatever else you have. But yeah, it was awesome. And I thank God for those nightmares that I'm back doing that crap again, because when I wake up in a cold sweat, and I still do to this day, it's like, oh, thank God it was just a dream. Right? Yeah. You're constantly, I am constantly winning.
Well, thank you for sharing that.
Yeah, no worries.
That actually means a lot, man. And
no worries.
I never knew that side of you. I mean, Tim and I are just getting to become friends here over the last few months. So, we're just getting to know each other very well here. And thank you, man.
Yeah. 20 years ago last month, sober.
Beautiful. Congratulations.
Ooh, yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
That's amazing. And you know what? Synchronicity that you're here on this night.
Yeah.
Okay.
That's very cool.
To share that story. What do you got for UFOs for us tonight?
I've got a couple of things now. I was doing some fiddling and fluffing around tonight or today. Now we brought up the how Canada reacts to UFOs and the government and all that sort of stuff in general. And when we finished talking about it, I went back, and I'm that kind of person that I'll replay a conversation in my head, make sure I didn't miss anything or, wasn't insulting or whatever. It's just what I do. And so after talking I think it was the last show, I went home and my brain started working. I was like, what does Canada do different than the US? Right. So I went through and just down a rabbit hole. And what I found was some very, very Canadians. The government has very generic answers, and without sounding or putting us Canadians in a bad light, we kind of, we kind of go along with it. I know the United States has a much, much, much larger resource pool to draw from and all that sort of stuff, right? So I just kind of went and I was doing a little bit of a comparison with it. So, for example, when the balloons, the Chinese spy balloons and stuff were flying over and they were shooting them down and stuff like that. The one, I guess, up in the Yukon, the Americans, they got up there quicker than the Canadians. What I found really strange was that the most concerning thing about this was that everybody was like, how come the Americans got there before we did? I'm like, well, I didn't know it was a race. I thought this was NATO, right?
Well, there's a story behind that.
Mm-hmm.
So the Minister of Defense at the time, Anita Anand, had the Canadian military forced them to call in an F-22 Lightning from Elmendorf Air Force Base because our CF-18s are still the original batch of CF-18. So the Americans have gone to the FA-18 C, D. Now they're at the Super Hornet. Okay, we just acquired some used Super Hornets a couple years ago from the Australian Air Force, who switched over to F-35s. But the original CF-18 had never been modified to pick up on radar something, or they don't have the missiles. Missile technology to lock into something going that slow.
Gotcha.
So they had to call in the F-22 or a couple F-22s from Elmendorf Air Force Base in Alaska to come in to intercept it, because they had a specialized AIM-7 or AIM-9 missile that could take on slower objects like that and track them. So that's why the call had to be made for that, because our CF-18s are too antiquated.
Got it. Okay, so that makes sense. So regardless of who got there first, what kind of astonished me was that was what everybody was focused on. Personally, myself, I might have been, asking, what is this? What, weather balloons, spy balloons. But I noticed that the Prime Minister kind of sidestepped it, and I guess him and all the rest of his cronies, they all put the emphasis on, we need to fix up our radar. Even the Americans, I keep stretching your shirt here. Even the Americans jumped on that bandwagon and said, "Hey, look, we need to strengthen our radar, because how did they get in without seeing us?" And I think it was in southern Alberta is where it just showed up, right? So kind of going back to what I was saying, I just find that there's not a lot that comparatively speaking to, like, just say the United States, just not a lot of the same drive as the Americans have. Now, I know that the Canadian Armed Forces will not investigate any UFO or UAP, whatever you want to call them, will not investigate it unless it's an imminent threat or they perceive it as a problem. And I'm like, okay. And they really don't. Yeah, don't worry about it. Yeah, it's all good. We're not too worried about it. I don't understand that either.
That is something strange. Now I know they are taking cases that they have been called out for, but most of the cases up in Canada do deal with Transport Canada, Nav Canada, and other.
I think even the RCMP.
The RCMP is another one. The military only seems to get involved when they have. Now, I have talked to fighter pilots before, on the CF-18, who've done tours, guarding Canada's airspace.
Right.
They don't talk about it. They don't witness it, including a relative of mine. And I don't know the guy that well. He married into the family. Okay. Seems a little crusty to me for no reason, but it doesn't make it. I'll just say this. My mom's side of the family, I'm the black sheep. I don't know why, but I'm the black sheep, so they don't give two craps about me. And he married into the family and kind of had that same attitude.
Oh, perfect.
So, but the point that I'm getting at is this. I asked him about it.
Yeah.
He's like, well, I've never seen any UFOs. Saw some strange lights, but you never know. Probably something atmospheric or something along that. And I'm like, you're a liar.
Yeah.
You're a liar.
Yeah.
You're protecting your badge on your wings. You're protecting that.
Yeah.
Okay. And go from there. But it's true, though, because unlike the United States,
Mm-hmm.
which pretty much has control of this, and a lot of people are talking about it,
Right.
not as many as there should be in the media, but a lot of people are talking about it. This is a non-story in Canada.
Yeah. It seems that way.
Not one reporter has grilled the Prime Minister of Canada on what he knows about UFOs. Not one reporter has asked him if he has been debriefed on this by the Minister of Defense, by Public Affairs,
Mm-hmm.
by anybody of the or anybody from that could be involved, CSIS, RCMP.
Right.
But here's the thing about Dear Leader. Okay, because we have to watch how we address him here.
Right.
Right. And
Yeah.
Prime Minister isn't good enough anymore. It's Dear Leader.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
I didn't know that.
Yeah.
More notes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
All right. Dear Leader has been read in 3 times.
And that's what you were telling me earlier tonight. Yeah.
The first time I know, and it may have been more,
Mhm.
but I know at minimum 3 times.
Wow.
The first time happened in 2019, where the former ambassador to the United States, between August and December of that year,
Right.
had a briefing in Washington, D.C. at the Pentagon,
Mhm.
and immediately flew up to debrief Dear Leader and his staff. Okay?
Mhm.
That was the first time.
Right.
The second time happened a couple of years later when the story started becoming more viral.
Okay.
And then it's happened once since then regarding the drones. So 3 times we know Dear Leader has been I know it's fun.
I love it. I do. I really do.
Well, you know what? For the amount of stuff they're trying to ban on the internet here in
Mhm.
Canada,
Right.
okay, saying that it's good for us. We're protecting Canadians
Thank you.
and speech and from
Mhm.
people getting offended on the internet. Okay.
Okay.
That's
Go on.
communism.
Mhm.
But we'll get into politics another night.
Oh,
because
okay.
I could totally make this a political show.
Let's do it.
I totally could. Right.
Yeah,
but
for sure.
I promised my radio stations I would not.
Okay.
So we're not going to go down.
All right. We won't.
But so because of his new rules on censorship and everything,
Mhm.
I don't like calling him the Prime Minister anymore because
Okay.
I prefer the North Korean term, Dear Leader.
Right. Okay.
Yeah.
Making sense.
Yes.
And so to just go a little bit further into what I was seeing is I looked up an interview, and I'm sorry, I have to read notes. I know
Yeah,
Dave's
go right ahead.
Okay, cool.
Go right ahead.
Because my brain doesn't remember everything like that. So CTV, there was an interviewer, Bill Forte for CTV News. And what he did is he wanted to know what the Prime Minister or Dear Leader knew, right? So this is an interview from a while back, and you can find this, and because this isn't made up or anything. So what he was told, the National Defense spokesperson told him during the interview that the current defense minister and or the prime minister have not been briefed on what Canadian intelligence knows about what's out there. I was like, yeah, okay, so I can't swear on here, but that's baloney as far as I'm concerned. But in contrast to that, you've got Mona Niemer, Sky Canada Project. So she's the chief science advisor of Canada, that says she reports directly to Dear Leader.
Which she does.
So and nobody's going, what? One person over here is saying, yeah, no, they don't know nothing. And then Sky Canada's going, well, yeah, I report directly to our Dear Leader. It's like,
she has to, though.
I understand
because she
it.
is Canada's top scientist.
No, and I understand why she has to, but we've got 2 people dealing with almost, cohesive, and I wouldn't say exactly the same thing, but we'll tell you all of that. The Prime Minister knows everything about studies and the research they're doing and the reports and the gathering and what have you, quote unquote, but he doesn't know anything intelligent wise, and nobody says anything. Or I shouldn't say nobody does, but it's very, very quiet because we're polite up here in Canada.
Well, the thing is, too, we can blame the media for it in Canada.
Mm.
Okay. I have been interviewed numerous times across Canada by journalists who have asked about what's going on UFO wise in the United States,
Mm-hmm.
but never have asked, out of probably a dozen interviews that I have done on the topic, I have never been asked, is this happening in Canada? What does the Canadian government know about UFOs? I've never been asked that. My question to my fellow journalists
Yeah.
is, we're Canadian. Why would you not ask that question? It is
Yeah.
the simplest question and the most logical question for your Canadian audience. Okay?
Yeah,
Our
enough.
American journalists get it.
Apparently.
Okay? Not all of them.
Yeah.
Not all of them, because there's still a lot of ego and spite around this topic
Mhm.
of being a tinfoil hat conspiracy.
Yeah.
But for the most part, the American journalists are not afraid to ask the UFO question. It's just like with the election coming up in November,
Mhm.
there will be the UFO question. There
Yeah.
will be. It may not make it on mainstream TV, wherever they're doing the debates, but in one-on-ones, the UFO question will pop up.
And that's not a surprise for me from the States. I can't wrap my head. Well, I'm trying to wrap my head around I don't get, like you say, why aren't those questions? Why not just ask the question? Right? Well, just ask it. And you get more than one person asking it. And obviously, after a while, something's got to give. But like I say, I just find that up here, it just seems to not be a burning question.
But here's the other question about that, though, my
Mhm.
friend.
Mhm.
And I'll pose this to you.
Righty?
Do you not think, though, that maybe the topic is not wanted in this country? And let me explain
Yep,
that for
yep,
a second. Because our neighbors to the south, the beautiful United States of America, a country I love.
Mhm.
I absolutely love America. Okay, pardon me, the United States, because we're all in North America.
Yeah, exactly.
Okay. They are our guardians.
Mm-hmm.
They are our protectors,
They're
our
a big
security blanket.
Yep.
If they say we don't want you talking about UFOs, is it possible that dear leader shuts up over that?
I guess anything is possible. I mean, speculation wise, who knows? But I guess maybe it's me being naive, but I don't know if I could do that. If I were, if I'm prime minister and somebody comes across for a visit, a neighbor comes over and tells me, no, you can't talk about this, to the people of your country. I'd be like, who the beep are you? Like, I don't get it. I mean, obviously it may run deeper and you may be totally right on this. But is it a fear, or do we just not even care enough? Like, I mean, obviously we do, and the people that come to the show or listen to the show or watch the show, but yeah, I got a lot of losses going on. I'm just like, I can't figure a lot of stuff out. I'm sure like a lot of people, but it surprises me. The more I dig, the more that, yeah, they're just black curtains and nobody wants to pull the curtain back. And I don't get it.
Well, I think it's because we in Canada, the Canadian government
Mhm.
has an attitude, and always has had an attitude, that if we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen.
Yeah, like your grandparents back in the 50s. Yeah,
Absolutely.
gotcha.
Absolutely. My parents growing up.
Yeah,
If
exactly.
we don't, I remember, a quick family story here with 2 minutes to go. I remember my dad, after my mom passed away,
Mhm.
saying, how come as a family, we're not close. We don't have one of those close families. I laughed at him. I said, Dad, what do you expect?
Mhm.
He goes, what do you mean? I figured, okay,
All
after
right.
50 years, this is my time to say this.
For sure.
I said, growing up, we didn't have family conversations. If it wasn't politics, if it wasn't hockey, or if it wasn't Coke versus Pepsi, We didn't talk about it.
All superficial.
And I said, how can you sit here and expect us to be a close family now
Mhm.
when we weren't 50 years ago?
Yeah.
And got him thinking.
Yeah.
But the reason why I bring up that example, not that I want to get it out there in my own
No,
personal
no.
drama,
I get it.
okay, but I bring it out there because it's a Canadian way. If we don't talk about it, it doesn't happen. It doesn't exist.
Yeah, good point.
We don't have to address it. MUFON
Mhm.
has that problem in the United States.
Right.
That if we don't talk about the Jan Harzan conviction, it doesn't affect us.
Yeah.
Whereas as a journalist, I want Dave McDonald's response. How do you feel about your former executive being convicted? And from what I'm hearing, either this Friday or next Friday, we're going to find out the sentencing on
Mhm.
that.
Mm-hmm.
That's what bugs me.
Yeah.
So
Agreed.
we have about 45 seconds. Quickly, what else do you have for us?
Nothing really. I'm just bantering around. I really enjoyed the photos from Kira yesterday. So I've got a bunch of stuff on that. Maybe on Friday we can have a look at it, or if you
Absolutely.
Yeah, because that totally sent me down another rabbit hole that I didn't know black triangles existed. So
Wait till you see one, my friend.
I can hardly wait.
We'll get you one.
Okay,
We'll,
thanks.
We'll summon one in for you.
Could you do that?
I've seen two.
Okay.
I've seen two.
I believe you.
Oh, yeah. That's Tim James, everybody. You can follow him on X at Tim James SOR if you want to check him on out. Help build his following. As we say hello, Mr. Ron Bumblefoot Thal, rocking in the background with Little Brother is watching. Bumblefoot is the official music of Spaced Out Radio, rocking us in and out of every single show. Get your horns up for the guitar god himself. Special thanks to everybody listening in at work, at home, in your cars, wherever you may be. Thank you to everyone in our chat rooms tonight. YouTube, Twitch, Elgin, Facebook, Spreaker, LinkedIn, the Space Travelers Club, and on X, hashtag Spaced Out Radio. Remember, this show is copyright by Spaced Out Radio and SOR Media Ventures Limited. Thank you so much for choosing to share your evening with us, because together, my friends,
we're watching.
We own the night. Mr. Bumblefoot, we need a favor. We need you to take us home. Yes, the Woo train has docked for the night, but soon, my friends, we shall ride again. Your seats are always available. Your tickets never expire. And if you want to bring a friend, we've got room for them too. Good night, everybody. It turned out well.
Yeah.
It's a good show. Nice to see sweet Robbie G hop on with us.
Yeah, that was cool.
That was fun.
Yeah. Oh,
Yeah.
that was a very good show.
I thought so too.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's got to go find Bill WD-40 for us.
Yeah, what the heck?
I'm unlubed.
Yeah.
Bill WD-40, wherever you are, give me the Hawk 2 with your WD-40 lube.
Oh, that'll wear out soon.
Oh,
50 minutes of fame.
You know what?
What's that?
All I got to say is, for everybody giving her credit,
yeah,
she's not the original Hawk 2. Do you know who is?
No.
The greatest heavyweight champion in wrestling history, the Iron Sheik.
Oh, true.
He used to say, Russia, number one. Iran, number one. USA, Hawk 2.
I forgot all about that.
That's the original Hawk 2 right there.
Yeah.
The Iron Sheik. God, he was a beauty.
Yeah.
He was just a beauty. Yeah. I loved 80s and 90s wrestling, man.
Oh, yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Yep.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, another show that just ripped by, right? Like tonight,
Yeah.
I was like, holy crap,
Yeah.
that's awesome.
Who's on tomorrow night? Let's take a peeky poo.
Yeah. Race fans are.
Oh, it's Merle tomorrow night.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
You're going to
yeah.
want to tune into this one.
I know.
Merle, Samantha Mowat, and I
Uh-huh.
are talking about something in the forest.
You're disclosing?
We are disclosing.
Jeez.
Yeah.
I'll be watching.
Yeah, it's pretty crazy.
Mm-hmm. I can hardly wait. That should be good.
Yeah. It's Plaid Koala, how are you? Yep. Area 51. What's happening? Oh my. There's number one right there.
Still got 125 people.
We were 100 degrees today, people. 100 degrees Fahrenheit up here today.
Yep.
We had that warm, that really hot wind. It wasn't even warm. It was hot wind.
Yeah, it's like when you open a convection oven, and I'm not trying to exaggerate or what. Yeah, it took the dogs out a few times. Obviously, they're laying on the floor. Take them outside, do their business, and they were like, "Yeah, let's get back in."
Yeah, I'm out of here.
Mm-hmm. My grass is yellow now.
Yeah, mine's just turned yellow.
Perfect. No mowing.
No mowing for at least 3 weeks.
I know.
Now, the sad part about it is the forest fire smoke is back.
Mm-hmm.
We have a forest fire about an hour south of us because it was coming up from Ashcroft, Spence's Bridge area.
Yeah.
Which is about an hour, 20 minutes south of us.
Yeah.
That
one up in Wells, the one that they had the evacuation order and
I didn't hear about that one.
Just outside of Wells. Yeah. The Barkerville and everything was going to go.
Oh, geez.
But they managed to, it's all green dotted now, right? So
okay, good.
Anybody that doesn't know, up here, we've all got apps on our phone that tell us about forest fires. And so you check in the morning, red is out of control, yellow is being contained, and I think green is like under control or whatever. So yeah, there was a large area up there in the mountains that was burning pretty hard. Ground fire, actually.
Oh, ground fire.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So for people who don't know British Columbia, where we live, it's like an old dormant. I think there was like a volcano, a lava river that ran through here like a million years ago.
I think so. That's how we became a plateau.
Yeah.
I think, right?
Yeah, because we have the butte. So like if everybody understands Devil's Tower in Wyoming.
Yeah.
Okay. Our area, like 20 minutes south of us, actually has our own team stump. And I believe it was a tree.
Yeah.
I believe it was a tree.
Yeah.
Okay. It was not a rock formed by volcanic. That's just stupid.
That's
just dumb. It's dumb, man.
Who said that?
Who said that? Who's doing that dumb out there? Right?
You're at 11. We need you at about a 2.
Exactly. Exactly. So south of us, okay, just south of this little town called Clinton. Okay. And if you're ever driving through Clinton, please do the Clinton count.
Games. Yeah, do the games.
Yeah, you got to do the Clinton count to see how many people are on the sidewalk today.
Yeah, and they've got to be on the main street.
Oh no, we play side streets.
Oh, so does my wife. She does that too. I was like,
hey, you have to play the side streets.
Yeah. Yeah.
But
anyway, sorry.
The other day, 26.
No.
Yes, 26 people coming through Clinton.
Holy man.
I thought, look at this stuff happening here. Hold on, I got to find out where the show ends here. Or this segment ends.
And found out more details.
Right.
But then utterly terrifying.
Did I cut it off? Son of a gun, I cut it off.
Oh no.
All right. Undo. What a jerk. What a complete jerk. You're an asshole. Right.
ASSHOLE.
I hear you. Undo, paste. All right, there we go. Hold on. Now we got to go. I thought I had it. I thought I had it. But anyways, the minute you get south of Clinton, that's where the desert starts.
Oh,
and the British Columbia Desert, what a lot of people don't know about our desert here is it's actually bigger than the Sahara.
I didn't even know that, and I've lived here all my life.
Yeah.
Really?
So you think from Clinton,
yeah,
goes all the way to Pemberton,
yes,
okay?
okay,
And it curves around, goes, because you have the Fraser Canyon, it goes through the Fraser Canyon, goes all the way down towards Princeton,
right?
okay,
Holy,
and along the border of the United States,
yeah, I never.
and then curls up in through the Okanagan,
right.
and all the way up again.
Yeah.
So it's a giant circle. And apparently, now I've never done the mathematics on it, but storytelling, you hear story after story, that the desert is as big or bigger land-wise than the Sahara Desert. It's bigger than most deserts in the United States.
Wow.
As well. And it's kind of cool.
Yeah, it is actually. I like that sort of stuff.
Except for them freaking rattlesnakes.
Yeah.
Don't like them.
I'll tell you a story. In that desert area, I was living in Whistler for a couple of years, and I was still a teenager. My mom had kicked me out of the house. And so I went to live with my dad. So he lived in Whistler. Anyway, we had come up to this neck of the woods. We used to have a cabin at Green Lake. So we were heading back to Whistler, and we were doing the Duffy. And like you were saying, that you get into that desert area and stuff. And my dad had said to me, I think I was 17. Dad says to me, hey, he says, when we drive by, there's a spot and there's an old wagon wheel up on the hill. He says, and every time I've driven through here, it's there. He says, there's no fence or anything. He says, when we swing through, let's stop and grab it, and we'll throw it in the back of the truck, and we'll take it home, and we can put it in the garden or whatever. And it was a wooden spoke wagon wheel.
Nice.
I was like, okay, yeah, I'm in. So the hill is just that sandy, rocky embankment, and and then there's just like this. So I see the wagon wheel laying up against the front of the side of the tree, and I said to my dad, Dad goes, I can't climb up there. I'm just going to fall down. Dad goes, okay, jump in my hands, and then I'll boost you up. And he says, and then catch with your elbows, and I'll push you with your feet. Oh, okay. So I get there. He gets me, and he goes, ready? 1, 2, 3. And I jump up, and I hook onto this ledge with my elbows, stick my arms in little cactuses. Right?
Ouch.
I'm like, oh, Dad. And he's getting ready to shove me. And all of a sudden, I was like, snake. Dad drops me. He goes, okay, you want to try this again? I said, no, we ain't getting a wagon wheel today.
No.
Holy.
You'll get that in winter.
Exactly. Oh, it's scared to
get it in winter.
Yeah. Seen them up on the Kettle Valley Trail in Kelowna too.
Oh, I've never seen a rattlesnake.
They sit on the rocks right beside the path.
Yeah, not me, man. Oof. I see a rattlesnake. Okay, my buddy Mike and I, we went out cutting firewood one day at one of my hot spots that I used to have before they cleaned all the trees along the side.
Yeah.
Okay. So we got a log cut up. I'd be damned if there isn't about a 3-foot garter snake curled up on the rock.
Oh, okay.
Okay. It's all in its circle.
Sure.
And it's looking at us. I look at Mike and he looks at me. I said, I ain't going. And he looks at me. He goes, and Mike's a pretty tough guy.
Sure.
He goes, I'm not going.
Really?
Yeah. And we looked at this. I said, we're stuck. We're freaking stuck right now holding these heavy logs.
Right.
We're stuck because we're not going to kill it.
No, of course not.
We're not going to do that.
But you knew it was a garter snake, right?
Yes.
Okay, so you're not a cool with snakes. Okay,
no,
gotcha.
Dave doesn't like snakes.
Okay, gotcha.
Yeah, there's a few things Dave doesn't like.
Rats.
Dave doesn't like macaroni. Okay, Dave hates macaroni.
Oh, damn.
Okay. Yeah, the worst thing you could ever bring to my party, I'll throw you out if you bring a macaroni salad.
Really?
Yeah, you're gone. Bye.
What about fusilli? Curly pasta?
Every other pasta's fine.
Just can't do macaroni.
I can't do. You know why? As a kid, somebody tried to shove macaroni and cheese down my throat.
Really?
Well, not physically,
get
but
it.
you got to eat
Eat
this.
it,
You
yeah.
got to, and it grossed me out.
Oh, okay.
And I'm like, yeah, Dave never doing macaroni ever again.
All
It
right, good
grosses
to
me
know.
out. Grosses me
So
out.
when we come to Days for Barbecue, no macaroni salad.
No macaroni
Got it.
salad.
Okay, got
That's
it.
right. All right. Okay. Dave loves sharks,
I do too.
but Dave will never go in the ocean.
We've talked about that.
We've talked about that.
Wow.
I don't do sharks.
No.
I don't do snakes.
Hmm.
Okay. Snakes can go to the hell that they are, the serpents of the devil. Okay. They're down there for a reason.
Yeah.
All right.
My father-in-law was the same way.
Yep.
No, didn't just couldn't.
Yep.
Yeah. Oh, to each their own. I mean, we all have our phobias and fears, I suppose.
It's not a phobia. I just
No.
yeah, no. Do I think snakes are cool? Yeah.
Okay.
Would I think it'd be cool going in Florida and hunting them pythons?
No.
Oh, yeah, I
Not
could
me.
do it. I could do it if I was here and they were like 100 yards away. I could do
Okay,
that.
Gotcha.
Right. But the rest of it, oh, that shit's got to go.
Mm,
Okay.
okay.
Like if it's between taking that bullet to my temples,
Yeah. You'll take the bullet.
or going into an area where there's snakes, just get it over with, man. Just pull the trigger. Right. That's just the way it is.
Gee, okay.
Oh yeah.
No, mine's rats. I can't do rats. I think it was because my brother locked me in a hold in a barge when we were kids.
Uh-huh.
And in Vancouver at Stanley Park in Cole Harbor, they used to have back in the early 70s or whatever. Yeah, early in the mid 70s, they had all the fuel barges out there, Texaco, SO, Shell. My dad worked on the Texaco. So no, this is about 1976. Yeah. So in the bottom of the barge, obviously, is the tanks, the fuel tanks, and what they go down there and you take the numbers off the tank before they switch shifts, and how much fuel, do your counts and stuff. So I said to my dad, I can do that because I'd been down there 100 times with him. He goes, you want to do it today? I was like, yeah. Down I went into the hold, and it's a big steel lid on chains. Right. So I go down there, and my little brother, decides that he's going to lock me down there. I was like, okay, whatever.
What a jerk.
He was. Well, yeah, I love him, but he was a jerk. So I'm locked down there, and they have those big canister lights with the steel, right? So they don't get broken.
Yeah.
And I'm down there. I'm yelling at him, and it's, nothing. I'm like, let me out. And I hear walking or scratching or whatever it was. It was like, what the heck is that? And I hear it coming closer and closer. And then you've got the pipes going along the walls that are mounted to the walls. Bilge rats. And they're the size of cats, man. I was stuck down there, and they all decided, I think there was like maybe 4 or 5 of them.
They're all going to come check you out.
Oh, yeah, they did. And I was up that ladder and just pounding on that steel door. I remember all of a sudden hearing the door come up. My brother laughing, my dad laughing. I was like, there's rats down there. Dad goes, oh, yeah, bilge rats. Yeah, no, I'm like,
how do they even get out there?
They come off boats, off the tugboats, or off the barges that they're hauling, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
But I don't know how they get down in there. It didn't. All I know is they were there, and I was freaked the heck out.
Yeah.
No. So after that, rats. No.
Want to hear a scary story
Yeah.
that happened to me?
Okay.
So when I was going to college, right before I enrolled in college, needed a job. So I go work at this bakery.
Oh.
All right. Nighttime.
Okay.
Hated it, but I liked having to. I had a part-time job, and then I took this one in order to just make
supplement.
Make a few extra bucks, right?
For sure.
So on night number 2 there, I had to go get put in some fresh dough that we had to go into the oven. Now the ovens ran at about 110, 120 degrees. You don't have to turn them up too high for bread.
No.
And the door closes behind me. And they have one of those little windows.
Yeah.
And there is no unlock.
What?
Stuck in there.
Oh no. No.
right?
No.
So I'm panicking.
Yeah.
I'm like, I'm about to be cooked
Mhm.
with the bread.
Yeah. I
Okay.
would have thought the same thing.
Right? Like I'm about to become Dave bread. All right. I mean, I'm sweet and sour.
Monkey bread.
Exactly. And I was literally debating, okay, like I got in control of my breathing and my anxiety and everything. Okay,
Yeah.
what do I do? What do I do? Well, the first thing I'm going to have to do
Eat bread? No.
is, well, the first thing I thought was if it gets too hot, I'll start taking off a couple layers of clothing because you have to wear long sleeve, you
Yeah,
have to
of
wear
course.
pants.
Yeah.
And I knew the temperature of the oven. I knew I could take that.
Yeah.
Okay.
Not pleasant.
But the good part about it was like, just as I'm thinking this, I'm like in there for like, it felt like 25 minutes.
Sure.
It's only about 4 minutes. Another person comes and opens the door. Like, well, what are you doing in here? I said, I got locked in. You know, the stupid part about it is I never, ever said anything. I thought it was funny afterwards.
Yeah.
Because I was like 20 years old.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I was like, I am never, ever doing that again. You know?
No.
And I'm like, I should have said to the boss, why is there no knob on the door to get out? And if there is, in case of an emergency,
Yeah.
how does one get out?
So you took orientation before you started?
Oh. Back then, who gave
Yeah,
orientation?
I know, for sure.
Right? We didn't have HR departments out there, which has been
Thank
the
God.
death knell
Yeah.
of industry.
Yeah. Thank God.
Yeah. We have HR coming up to the new job next week.
Mm.
Yeah.
Oh, they're giving presentations and expectations and
I'm
signees.
sure they're going to absolutely love that I told my boss in front of one of our female employees today that he had real big dick energy today. In the meeting, he had real big dick energy. See, for me, I'm my own HR department.
Yeah. Right.
I don't believe in the oh my god stuff. It's funny. There was this lady whining on. I don't know if you saw it. Nobody ever responded to me. I got to go find this article. Maybe she released it. But this lady went locally took her sons to the softball provincials.
Okay.
And she was complaining that her two boys never got to play, or they played limited compared to the other kids.
All right.
And so she was complaining online about the coach not playing and how all the parents and even his own wife said he was being unfair. And he's like, it's about winning. And so all of these beta males and all of these mothers who are all about participation badges.
Yeah.
They're like, I can't believe that still exists in today's sports. Dave got on there.
Mm-hmm.
Let me see if I can find the comment.
Yeah.
Let me see this. And frankly, I don't care if any of you agree with me or not. I really don't.
No.
I'm hoping to find the comment. I think it was on Rant and Rave.
Oh, you're talking it was up here.
Yeah.
Oh, no way. I think I might know who the coach is that you might be talking about then.
Hold on. Let me go home here. I want to see if anybody responded because I'll respond right off the bat here.
Mm-hmm.
Where is it here? Come on. Maybe they erased the comment. Oh no. She edited the comment.
Oh, okay.
So I said, sorry your children went through this, but when you were at provincials, it is about winning.
Yeah.
And not about participation badges.
Mm-hmm.
There's nothing wrong with teaching winning.
Nope.
Since sport started going woke about 25 years ago, we've seen a giant shift going out there to win with your best players, to root blue ribbons for everyone.
Mm-hmm.
Now, I'm not saying that this is the case, but as a former hockey coach trained by NHL coaches and had 15 of my own players over the years turn pro and play up into the NHL, I'm failing to see an issue here.
Yeah.
You are throwing your coach under the bus for the sake of your hurt feelings that your children played less time than others. That's sports.
Mm-hmm.
And I'm sorry, but that's life.
Mm-hmm.
You should be lucky and proud your kids were on that team. I don't know this coach, nor am I involved with softball, but if your team is at provincials, which is a privilege earned, you're going to win.
Mm-hmm.
You're going to win.
Yeah.
It's posts like this that coaches eventually quit over. Good coaches are hard to find. So let's read the responses here.
Uh-oh.
Michelle says, when it comes to provincials, you are in it to win it. And this team, the whole team, played their hearts out. It was 35 plus outside. So that's about 98 degrees.
Yeah.
And they played 3 games back-to-back on Sunday to make it to the bronze medal. Be proud, 100 Mile.
Yeah.
Hadley responded to me. Dave, they were talking about a house team, not NHL professionals. People need to learn the difference between rep and house teams. I was told the same thing in minor hockey last year. That team still didn't win. Dave Scott. Sadly, this wasn't a good coach. We have house teams and rep teams. There are rules in place to make sure everyone gets a chance to play. Coaches that make everything about winning are the ones that ruin it for kids. All right. No, they're not. No, they're not. Okay. It's the parents that ruin it for kids. Okay. Because the parents make the issue. Dude, my kid sucks at hockey. Okay. He does.
Yeah.
I'll be the first one to say it. But you know what? My kid has had the worst coaching I've ever seen ever.
Really?
For his first 5 years of hockey. It's been a waste of about, if I total up all my travel time around here, it's been a waste of about $20,000 when you include gear, travel, hotel, ice time, registration fees, okay, everything. It adds up.
Yeah.
Okay. But my son loves the game. And you know what? If my son isn't good enough to play and it's 4-3 with 4 minutes to go, my son is a liability out there. He plays house league.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
My son is a liability. If you put him on the ice in that situation, I'm going to kick your ass.
Yeah. No, exactly. I get it. I totally agree.
Yeah.
I get it. I coach soccer, boys and girls soccer from U6 to basically what? U18? Yeah, so I did boys and girls. And it was, I mean, I get it. How come my son's not out there? Well, because your son doesn't want to play, or your son, whatever, or your daughter. And what I found, I think the biggest thing for me was, it was parents telling their kids that you're special. And they haven't earned anything. They haven't worked for anything. I mean, like anything, like, what are you going to do? Like in school, a teacher says, we've got a test tomorrow. Does everybody pass because they participated? No, you're a winner and you're a loser. And some people are middle of the roaders, right? So learning that you have to work harder at something that you may not be that great at, or the rest of the group, that is part of sports. You don't just get to put in there, like you say, you just don't get put in there because you're sitting there. You're on the bed. I don't get it.
I'm vicious when it comes to sports, man, because everything that I learned, okay, was from that teamwork, that camaraderie. Okay. I wasn't a talented guy when I played.
Right.
What did I do? I made my spot by beating the shit out of people. Okay.
Yeah,
that's the way. No, it's to be blunt.
Yeah. Oh.
Okay. I needed to contribute.
Yeah.
If I wish I was still in contact with our goalie, Randy. Okay. Randy loved me. Okay. Why did Randy love me? Let me tell you why. Because when somebody went in there and gave Randy a stick, maybe a little bit of an aggressive tap on the pads, or sprayed him with ice.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay. Guess who was the first one there? Okay. And I was the guy who would have to go to these other players and say, we're not going to do that. Okay. Yeah. We don't want a problem here. And sometimes I'm looking like I'm only 5'8" 3/4, man. Yeah. So put on 2 inches of blade and escape blade and holder. Okay. So bump that up. Now I'm not even 6 feet. Okay.
Yeah.
And here I am looking up at some of these big bastards like,
Yeah.
okay, all right. If we got to do this,
Wrap it up.
we got to do this.
Yeah,
right?
for sure.
You know, like, well, Major League, you disagree with everything I say, so I'm not even, and you like soccer. So soccer is about participation badges and orange slices, so that doesn't count as sport. Okay.
And don't forget the magic sponge. I used to call that every time one of my players
Yep.
would go down in the big hump.
Yeah.
Like, somebody get the magic sponge.
Yeah.
All right. Yeah.
Okay.
Get up.
When it comes to sports, work is the answer, Vanessa. It is the answer.
I mean, there are people that have natural ability. Don't get me wrong. I'm not saying that, but yeah, if you're not like, I was never that guy, so I had to run when I was on the rugby.
Have you seen? Okay, here's a good video.
Mhm.
Here's a good video. Go on YouTube and watch Connor Bedard, the kid who went first overall in the 2023 NHL entry draft. Watch the videos of him as a kid.
Okay.
Training.
Oh yeah.
Okay. On his own, not his parents pushing him.
Yeah.
He loved the game. Okay. They set up oh, hell with you, Area 51. Your guys lost to Florida. Oh.
We're just
All right.
ban Area 51? Is that for?
He might get banned for that comment.
Yeah, I'm thinking.
He might get banned for that comment.
Yeah. It's sports is sports, and yeah, it is what it is. You win, you lose, you learn how to win gracefully, you learn how it's like to get it handed
Absolutely.
to you. Like, that's part of growing up. When you shelter people from those, or kids,
Absolutely,
from that, you're just creating a bunch of BS, and then they grow up. And
my favorite coaches were the ones that were the hardest on me.
Me too. Yeah,
you know,
100%.
And those were the guys I have never, out of all the players I have coached, and I've run into a number of them over the years. Like, I'm talking guys where I would make them get on the ice. If they weren't doing what they wanted, I'd make them get on the ice and do 50 push-ups.
No, bag them, eh?
Okay, bag skate them until they puke.
Yep.
Put a 20. You can't do it anymore because of PC. Okay, but all right, boys, here's a $20 bill. First one to puke gets the money. Skate him to death.
Yeah.
Okay, can't do that anymore.
No.
Okay, but you know what? Those players still hit me up on Facebook and wish me a happy birthday every year.
That's cool.
It's been 26 years. 26 years.
Yeah.
And I still get a happy birthday from my boys.
That's so cool.
Okay. I can go, if I'm walking around my old hometown of Abbotsford and I see one of my former players and I'm at the bar with them. Hey, coach, can I buy you a beer? Okay?
Never go anywhere for a beer.
Right? That's the way it is. It's the ones who are hardest on you that love you the most, because you saw it. The ones who are hard on you, they weren't picking on you.
No.
They were trying to teach you to get the best out of you. Like nobody complains of, here's the funny part about it. You never hear anybody complain about football coaches in the United States.
Oh no.
Those guys are worse than any hockey coach out there. Okay.
Yeah.
You never hear them complain. They're okay. I forget the statistic, but like, there's a major percentage of American people who've gone to boot camp and joined the military.
Yeah.
You never hear them complain about their DIs.
No.
Their drill instructors.
Yeah.
Some you do. Okay. Because they can't handle it.
Yes.
Okay. But for the majority of them, after boot camp, what do? They thank their sergeant for pushing them to be the best they could be. Because up until you get pushed, you never know what you can get out of yourself.
That's right. You don't know your own potential.
And a good coach, will push you to the level. Now, the problem that a lot of my wokes are going to have here, is they're going to think that pushing a kid, pushing them to their limit, is the same as abuse. I'm not abusing the child. I'm not abusing the teenager or the adult. What I'm doing, I'm not calling them names. I'm not benching them for the sake of that.
Yeah, no.
I'm not punishing them for being there. I'm teaching them through hard love and physical exhaustion
Yeah.
that this is how we get better. This is how we grow as a team.
That's right.
Okay. And we don't have that as much anymore.
No.
And I know there's going to be comments about this. I don't care.
Yeah.
Okay.
Dave doesn't. Dave is
no,
Pam. He doesn't care.
No, I used to care.
Yeah. No, I
But
get it.
It's funny. It's
Get
funny.
off
When
my
I hit
lawn.
51, when I hit 50, I started not caring. When I hit 51, now I don't care.
Yeah.
Right.
Yeah. Same thing when I turned 50, same thing. I was just like, yeah, well, you know what? I'm kind of tired of putting my energy into this shit. And then later on down the road, probably a little bit later, probably about 53, then I didn't care. I didn't. We're not here to cause a disturbance.
Mhm.
I'm not here to piss you off. I'm not here to poke and jab at you. I'm giving you the way I feel. And if you don't like the way that I feel, that's totally fine. I can respect that. We can still talk. It's just, I don't, people get too bent out.
I had a kid,
Mhm.
couldn't take a slap shot.
Okay.
Worked and worked and worked on it.
Yeah.
To the point where he was 12 years old.
Sure.
He was crying.
Yeah.
Couldn't take a slap shot.
Yeah.
So I skated up to him. I said, "What's the problem? Can't take a slap shot."
Mhm.
I'm trying and I'm just too weak. I said, "Then you're not trying hard enough, or you're doing it wrong."
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
In 2 minutes, I said, "You give me 2 minutes, and you're gonna have a slap shot."
Mhm.
And he goes, "Really, coach?" I said, "Yeah. In 2 minutes, you're gonna have a slap shot." And he's like, "Okay." Wipes the tears away from his eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. I worked with him for 2 minutes, and all of a sudden, boom, boom,
Yeah.
boom.
Oh.
And he looked at me with the biggest smile on his face
Right.
because I was hard on him and I
Mhm.
wouldn't let him quit.
Yeah.
And I would not accept his emotion for failure.
No. Dude,
I
exactly.
pushed him to the level that he needed to get to.
Mhm.
And the smile on his face through his teary eyes.
Yeah.
Okay. Because he thought he could do it. I knew he could. Now, that isn't patting my own back.
No,
That's
no.
patting the kid's back.
100%.
Okay.
Yeah.
For him successfully, okay, taking what I taught him
Mhm.
and getting the reward and the satisfaction of something that he always wanted to do, which was take a slap shot.
And with that young boy, that is one of those experiences that he won't forget. That
Bought me a
his
beer.
brain's gonna go
Bought me a beer.
right.
I even ran into him on the plane to Las Vegas about 10 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
Bought me a beer when we got off.
Like it's
Okay.
it's watching their face. So that's what I found when I was coaching is when a kid had a breakthrough like that, and it didn't matter what they were doing, it had some skill at the sport they were doing.
Yeah.
To see their eyes light up,
Absolutely.
right, and just go like, and you're thinking, geez, I hope I wasn't being an ass to the kid, but you weren't, and I completely understand
Yeah.
what you're talking about, right?
Yeah. And sometimes you have to take if you're a good coach,
Mhm.
you have to understand that sometimes that weaker player
Mhm.
just needs an opportunity
Yeah,
to play with the better player
absolutely.
to see what he can do
Yeah,
or she can do.
Yeah.
Okay. There's one player on my son's hockey team this past year.
Mhm.
Man, if I could coach her.
right on.
This girl is 10 years old and she skates like an NHLer.
Really cool. Okay.
I have only ever in my life, out of all the kids I've trained,
Mhm.
I trained couple hundred.
Mhm.
She is maybe the third kid I have ever trained to skate that way.
Really.
And it is flawless and perfect.
So, question then: when she skates, is she a lifter or does she do the
No.
beret? She keeps that blade.
No,
on.
not a beret. She's more like a Paul Coffey.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay.
Yeah.
So for people, Paul Coffey is a Hall of Fame NHL defenseman where his stride was so smooth,
Mhm.
it never looked like his blades left the ice.
True. right?
No choppiness, anything like that.
Yeah, it was so
She
weird.
skated like Paul Coffey.
Wow, that's
Or she skates like Paul Coffey.
that's incredible.
And this young girl, if she was in a bigger market,
Yeah.
Now the good part about it is her dad is an extremely good hockey coach.
Oh, okay.
Extremely good, and her
Cool.
uncle or cousin, uncle I believe, is an extremely good hockey coach too. And they live on Canham Lake on the reserve.
Yep.
And so those kids are always like outdoors. The minute it starts to freeze here, they're
Yeah.
freezing the outdoor rink there.
Yeah, for sure.
And they're skating,
Mhm.
right? And so with that, it's watching these kids, especially this girl, skate.
Yeah.
I tune out. I'm not even watching what my own son is doing because I'm just watching her skate.
Yeah.
I could watch her skate for hours. It's perfect.
It's weird. It's it sounds so silly, but
Mhm.
it's beautiful when somebody knows how to skate really well.
Oh yeah.
It's like, oh my God.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. You just wish that I could skate like that.
Well, it's not blurry up there.
Oh,
Weird. Usually it's blurry when I'm uploading.
Oh, geez, we still got there's 100 people still watching and listening.
Oh yeah. So yeah, it's kind of cool.
Mm-hmm.
It really is kind of cool that. Yeah, well, there's 100 people, almost 100 people here, and 55 on X and one on Twitch. Yeah, but watching this young girl, I don't know if she's playing in the league. I think her parents are going to try and move her to Williams Lake.
Oh,
to try and get better coaching and better opportunity.
Yeah.
Selfishly, though, I want to see her down here for one more year. Because that young girl, I will tell you right now, if she can find proper coaching, she will be I think she'll get a scholarship.
Oh, okay.
I really believe that she will get a scholarship, probably somewhere in the U.S.
Okay.
She's a very smart young girl.
Oh, that's perfect.
She is, and she skates like Paul Coffey, and she's a little bit selfish with the puck, but you could break that.
Yeah, of course.
But this young girl, it won't surprise me in 8 years if we read in the local paper that she got a full ride scholarship to some Div 1 U.S. team.
That's cool.
Oh yeah,
good for her.
So it's just something that yeah. So anyways,
all right,
everyone, we're gonna say goodnight.
Good night.
My butt is killing me from
Mine
sitting in
too.
this chair.
I'm just moving. I was like, damn.
Merle and Samantha Mowat tomorrow night. Thank you to T-Bone ×3, Pixie Lara, Paramarv, Kira ×2, Human Carl, Tim Mothman and his goatee, and W. Decker Area 53 for the great super chats. We'll see you tomorrow night with Merle and Samantha, everybody.
healthy, my friend.
You too.
If you need bail money, give me a call.
Always, Dad. Take care.
You too.